Welcome to the Brian Craig Show. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And of course, the Minneapolis, Minnesota rebellion continues, and we'll talk about all the latest developments, including not just the violence that's going on in the overnight hours in Minneapolis. We'll also talk about Tim Walz's outrageous State of the State address. We're going to get into all that and take your calls. We're in a new, strange, and scary place with the Democrats. You know, you ever hear the thing about a caged animal? You know, that's what's going on with the Democrats of Minnesota right now. The Democrats of Minnesota are behind all of this violence that's going on. They got caught with the fraud ring, with the Leering centers and everything else. And the Democrats are causing all of this disruption where people are literally being shot so that they can avoid doing a long stint in white-collar prison. So we're going to cover that and a whole bunch more on the program. Again, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe to the program. Okay, so all night long, there's been violence over another incident. Let's go through the latest of what's happening on the ground in Minneapolis and been going on all night with this latest front. This is from CNN. Federal agent shoots man, officials say assaulted officer in Minneapolis, prompting protest. What prompted the protest is when Nick Shirley made them famous in Minneapolis with their Somali fraud ring, okay? That's what's caused these protests. Minneapolis officials called for calm Wednesday night. Calm? They brought these people to Minnesota. What do they mean they're calling for calm? Why don't you call these out-of-state agitators on them to leave the state and go back home? How about that? Why, if you want calm, why don't you call on the protesters to leave the streets? If you want calm, why don't you tell the protesters to stop harassing ICE officers? I mean, give me a break. Minneapolis, again, this is CNN. Minneapolis officials call for calm Wednesday night as heated clashes erupted near the scene where a federal agent shot an injured man after he allegedly assaulted the agent 1 week after an immigration agent killed a woman in the city. Don't you love how CNN describes this nonsense? The Department of Homeland Security said federal agents were conducting a targeted traffic stop when the man, a Venezuelan national, was shot in the leg after he began to resist arrest and violently assault one of the ICE officers. The individual was transported to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, the city said. In the hours after, demonstrators gathered near the scene, facing off against law enforcement, who deployed multiple tear gas canisters, pepper balls, and what sounded like flashbangs before officials told people to go home. I urge anyone that is at that scene to leave immediately, said the police chief at a news conference, calling it unlawful assembly. The incident comes as the city continues to reel in the aftermath of the fatal shooting of Renee Good. The incident began, the new incident, and again, I'm reading from CNN, so, you know, this is the liberal bias of CNN we're dealing with. The incident began at about 6:50 p.m. and involved a Venezuelan man who Department of Homeland Security said is in the United States illegally. The man fled the scene in his vehicle, crashed into a parked car, and then ran away on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up to the subject on foot and attempted to apprehend him when the subject began to resist and violently assault the officer. During the struggle, Homeland Security said 2 people came out of a nearby apartment and attacked the officer using a snow shovel and a broom handle. So now this ICE officer is taking on 3 people that are beating him with weapons. After the suspect got loose and joined the attack, the officer fired defensive shots, according to the Department of Homeland Security, striking the initial subject in the leg. The 3 individuals, the snow shovel guy, whoever it was with the broom handle, the 3 individuals then ran back into the apartment building, barricading themselves inside. The federal government's narrative could not immediately be verified. Well, I think we could take the good word of Homeland Security, don't you? What, are we supposed to take the word of these Venezuelan illegals that are violent felons that are beating federal agents? Homeland Security did not specify how long they were barricaded, but O'Hara said one individual was shot during a struggle with law enforcement and later refused to come out of a residence. He was removed by federal agents who made entry into the residence and took the person to an ambulance. The officer and initial subject are both in the hospital, and the two other individuals are in custody, Homeland Security says. The statement did not detail how their detention unfolded. Minneapolis leaders are asking the city, once again rocked by violence involving federal law enforcement, to remain calm. The violence isn't from the feds. The violence is from the residents, the Democrats, and these outside agitator Antifa types that they brought into the city. All right, that's CNN. Let me see how Fox is covering this. Okay. Here's Fox. Protesters clash with federal officers after another ICE shooting in Minneapolis. This is Fox News. Protesters and federal law enforcement clashed in Minneapolis on Wednesday night into Thursday morning after a second ICE-involved shooting in the city as local officials continue to demand the agency leave. An ICE agent shot an alleged illegal immigrant in the leg on Wednesday during an arrest attempt. The Department of Homeland Security claims the agent fired at the suspect because he was fearing for his life and safety. Yeah, well, you got three people beating on you. One's got a snow shovel he's hitting you with. The other one's hitting you with a broom handle. And then you got this other Venezuelan illegal, probably MS-13 or Trinidad de Agua, very violent, probably all three of them. What are you supposed to do? The suspect was reported to be in stable condition and is now in custody, while the ICE agent is allegedly in the hospital, Fox News reports. This comes after the incident last week with Renee Good. They go into that. Democrats and local residents have condemned the shooting as a murder. They're talking about Renee Good. Protests continued on Wednesday after the latest shooting, and demonstrators using horns and whistles and officers deploying tear gas and pepper balls. There were at least 100 people at the scene, where officers were dispersing pepper spray, throwing pepper balls, and using flashbangs as protesters tossed items at the agents. Demonstrators were also calling on ICE to leave the city and holding signs with phrases such as F ICE. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said a crowd was committing unlawful acts, including throwing fireworks at officers, and urged people to leave immediately. This is already a very tense situation, and we do not need this to escalate any further, he said. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, urged peaceful demonstrations in response. How about no demonstrations? How about everyone go home? It's night, it's cold, things are heated. There's no peaceful at night. You go home. I know you're angry. I'm angry. What Donald Trump wants is violence in the streets. This is Tim Walz. His people are the ones doing the violence in the streets. Walz goes on, but Minnesota will remain an island of decency, of justice, of community, and of peace. Don't give him what he wants, Walz wrote on X. He doesn't want ICE officers beaten with snow shovels and broom handles. And he doesn't want anyone shot, President Trump. Walz also made an address to Minnesota where he called on ICE to leave the state. I want to play that coming up in a bit. Now, if you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll free no matter where you are watching from. It's 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631, toll free call. And if you're on hold, stand by. We'll get to the phones shortly. This whole thing with Tim Walz here. And I would like to know if you agree with me on this. This violence in Minnesota has nothing to do with deportations. Nothing. It has nothing to do with Renee Good either. These protests in Minnesota are organized and caused with the organization of the Democrat Party because the Democrats, from Tim Walz on down, they got busted. Nick Shirley put the biggest spotlight in history on their Somali Learning Center scam. They're all facing decades in white-collar prison. And the Democrats in Minnesota are such lowlives that they're willing to burn their state down, where people are getting beaten, hospitalized, hurt severely, run over by cars, and even shot to avoid doing time for their crimes. Do you agree with me on that? That's what's going on here? This is all being organized by the Democrats to try to stay out of jail. And for the life of me, I don't understand. They've stolen $19 billion from the federal government through this Somali pirate scam. So these public officials, don't they have enough money to retire? Can't they flee the country and stop this? I'm surprised none of them have. And what they're trying to do is run ICE out of the state of Minnesota. Well, the opposite is in fact true. By tomorrow, there's going to be at least 3,000 ICE agents in the city. The ICE agents outnumber the police. And if that weirdo mayor, Jacob Fry, and this lunatic governor, Tim Walz, if they really wanted things to stop, they would stop their protesters in the streets. They're the ones who brought them to Minnesota, and they're the ones that put them in the streets. All right? All right, I'll take some calls. And I do want to hear all opinions on this, but can you mind your manners so we can have real discussions? I understand you liberals are classless. Many of you are mentally ill. But mind your manners, all right? Let's have some real discussions about what's going on. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian.
Yeah, Richie.
I watched all of this go down all day yesterday. I watched I said, how low can they go? They had high school students out there with left-wing reporters on and on and on, questioning high school students who should have been in school but are protesting, saying foul language about ICE. Now they got the kids doing it. And then to top it off, they get this guy, the governor, who totally incited this whole thing. I'm going to tell you something. I'm starting to look at the Trump administration, and I'm going to say this, and it's not against Trump. It's Pam Bondi and the FBI and all of these people. If they aren't in the governor's mansion, I mean, they took what's his name in the middle of the night out of his house in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, Roger Stone.
And this, they should snatch this governor. The FBI should snatch him right out of the house. Now and say you're under arrest for not incitement, everything else. How can a man stand there and say people got to watch? They're dragging pregnant women down the sidewalks. Is that inflaming people? Yeah. They're going door to door looking for
that
brown
was
people.
The pregnant woman. Was that the woman that they pulled out of the car yesterday that lied and said she was going to the doctor? Who's he talking about? Give me a break. The deportations they're doing, most of them are of very violent Venezuelan illegals, rapists, murderers, drug traffickers. Yeah. But with Tim Walz, I want to play a little later some of Tim Walz's State of the State speech. I mean, he was calling on the people to rise up against the government.
Yeah, it's an attack.
He said attack. Yeah.
I remember years ago when George Wallace, I believe, tried to block the federal government with black people going
Another
to
Democrat.
college.
Another Democrat.
Didn't they arrest him?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and look. It's before my time. I mean, I know about it, but I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I don't know if they did, but this guy should be arrested this morning. There shouldn't even be a thought.
President Trump.
He caused that last
President
night.
Trump knows more about what's going on than we do, and they're trying. They're trying to trigger President Trump to send in the army. I really do. So he's not letting himself. They're sitting in 1,000 more ICE agents, and President Trump is trying to do it in a way that doesn't incite. Give them. Well, I shouldn't say incite. Doesn't give them an excuse to call for more violence.
But to pull, let me say this. I mean, I'm watching this. You can't get any worse than it is right now. And the point being, these guys are out in the street. They have to have an army of people in back of them because the public, and I don't even call it the public, the hired goons are attacking them
Correct.
left and right.
Yeah.
I mean, so what I'm saying is it's a war zone down there, and for Tim Walz to be sitting there sleeping tonight after what he did last night, he incited that whole deal last
Well,
night.
remember when remember he did in his State of the State. Remember when he was running with Kamala and Tim Walz's freaky wife talked about how they had the windows open in the governor's mansion and how much they enjoyed the smell of the burning tires during the riots
this
of
guy's sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is literally sick. I don't know how anybody and if the FBI snatched him out of his mansion and put him under arrest for causing riots like this, and incitement, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, because they attacked President Trump when he said peacefully go to the down to Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah, they peacefully protest, and they persecuted this guy. This guy needs to go to jail, but I don't know why they won't do it because
they're afraid they're afraid of going to prison, and for some reason they can't get out of the country. I guess you would think they have enough money stashed away in foreign bank accounts that they would just flee.
Nick Shirley yesterday had round 2. Did you see it?
I did. Yeah, the transportation center that didn't exist and was a liquor store.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah.
So this is exactly what's going on here, and yet they don't. And I'm starting to say, why isn't the FBI there this morning? That if they did Roger Stone, this is justified. And if you think that would create more hostility in the streets, it can't get any worse than this. It can't. Mm-hmm. The next thing you know, it's a war zone, man. That street. I watched that last night. You couldn't tell the difference between that and Iran.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
No. Well,
they were attacking these officers.
The difference is we're not shooting these innocent civilians. I mean, I know the guy with this. They had a 3-on-1 attack of one ICE agent, beating him with a snow shovel and a broomstick.
Snow shovel and a broomstick. Yeah,
and 3 of them on one. He shot him in the leg.
And they forgot about the fleeing Venezuelan that crashed his car.
It was the same one. It was the same incident. It was the same incident.
Yeah, same incident. So the bottom line is, Brian, this guy got to be arrested today. Can't wait anymore. We can't have him in the bully pulpit spilling this poison to these mobsters that are out in the street. You got to shut him up, and he ain't shutting up. It's too stupid to shut up.
Yeah,
and then they come out and say we have to have peace in the streets. It's all ICE's fault. You got to make this. You can make this. This
is not a time for demonstrations. You know, I've been telling people all week, and I'm going to continue to do it today, tomorrow, and over the weekend. Do not go to anti-ICE protest in your local city. They're going to they're going to start springing up all over the country this weekend, and they're going to grow and grow. Do not go. They want you to go so that they can trigger a confrontation and blame MAGA for it. Stay home. Don't go to and Tim Walz and Frey should be. Is it Frey or Fry? I always forget the weirdo mayor. They need to tell them
either way.
This is not a time for demonstrations. This is a time to go home. But they're irresponsible.
But it's a time. Yeah, but it's a time to arrest that governor.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I don't know what they're waiting on. I'm
Exactly.
not a lawyer. I hope a lawyer calls you up today and says, "Do we have a case against him immediately?" I mean, not a local judge, because a local judge will turn him loose, because a local judge is the same as these politicians. He's probably getting
I do know that Scott Bessett and Kristi Noem are doing some serious investigating. JD's talking. They're trying to find out who's financing this. And so there's an active investigation going on, and they will get to the bottom of it.
I understand what you're saying. I agree but you can't have this time lapse because he's causing poison in the streets. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. This guy last night proved himself.
That's right. All right, Richie, I'm gonna move on, but you can call me again later. All right, take care. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. My name's Dave from Pennsylvania.
Hey, Pennsylvania. What's up?
I'm just calling in. I just want to voice my opinion on the Walz and the Clintons there. You got people that done lesser crimes in this country that are in jail.
Sure.
These people I don't understand what's taken so long. He even says it right on national TV about, raising trouble and all this stuff. And then the Clintons don't show up at Congress. We do something like that, we go to jail. That's all I got to say.
I can't, I'll tell you, I understand what people are saying about the Clintons, but I believe that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have been given a god-awful life sentence, and that is a life sentence of being forced to live together in the same house in Chappaqua. And that's got to be pretty miserable.
Yeah, they wanted the Epstein files. Now it's turning against them, and then all of a sudden they don't want nothing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Pennsylvania, good to talk to you.
All right, Brian, love the show.
Well, thank you. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Brian. It's Jocelyn out of California.
Hey, what's up? Up late in California?
Yeah, I'm on my break.
Oh,
I am absolutely disgusted at how the members of ICE are being treated, not just by the community, but by the leadership within that state, and also as well as the police department.
Yeah.
The fact is, this is a law enforcement agency that has power to do exactly what it is that they are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And due to the fact that all of these sanctuary cities have decided that they are going to not assist, whether it is holding these people in jail so that they can be safely transported into the hands of members of ICE or out in the community to assist them. It is infuriating to think that sanctuary cities have been allowed to act this way. It is I've said this before with you, and I know that you feel the same way. It is unconstitutional to have a sanctuary city in this country. And this is the reason why.
You can't say that your city is a sanctuary for federal fugitives, right?
Exactly,
there's no such thing.
The law.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You go to jail for harboring fugitives. If you harbor fugitives, you go to jail. Listen, I got to move on because but I do appreciate. I hope you call me again. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. I'm going to take one or two more calls, but I want to play before the radio show starts the Nick Shirley video because I can't play it on the radio because of the language. So I'm going to play it before the radio show starts in a moment. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Morning, Brian. Doc from Texas. How are you this morning?
Oh, before we get started, there's some controversy over your name. Is it Dot or Doc?
Doc, D-O-C.
Okay, Doc, like doctor, like short for Doc. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right, Doc.
Okay, hey, you okay? You doing okay this morning?
I'm always okay.
Okay. I was talking about calling you about the stuff that's going on in Greenland and all that in Minnesota.
Greenland, USA.
No, it's not. I think the problem is we need. We have a military presence there. That's all we need. And they always said if you want more, you can come in more.
Oh.
But that's their country. Leave these people alone.
It's not their
Run
country.
Our country.
Denmark. Why are you siding? Why are you siding with a European king and colonialist? Okay, the king of Denmark. They are colonizers in Greenland. Why are you siding with colonizers, Doc?
Leave those people alone. Let them run their country.
Listen, this year, July 4th, is the 250th anniversary of when the great founding fathers of the greatest nation that's ever existed, the United States, said, "No more kings." You liberals even have your "No Kings" protest, and we say no more kings in Greenland. No more kings in Greenland.
Leave those people alone. Just let them, and just leave them alone. Let them do them, and we can have a military presence there. Leave those people alone.
Why are you siding with a king and a colonizer?
I'm not siding with it, Brian.
Denmark has a king.
Leave those people alone. They're not bothering nobody, Brian. They're doing them. They're not hurting nobody, Brian.
The people of Greenland are good people. They're not hurting anyone, but the Chinese are.
Leave those. You know what? We can have a military presence, and they told us we can have more people there if we want.
Oh, if we want.
Leave them.
Well, what we want is
alone.
Okay.
Another thing too. Hello?
Yeah.
Another thing too. ICE in Minnesota. Something is something is going to really happen to where a lot of people are going to get killed, and Trump is going to. They're supposed to be there to get the criminals. Let them get the people that's really doing bad things, and get the hell out of Minnesota.
Well, they're involved in a federal law enforcement operation. You want the rapists and murderers from Venezuela to stay in Minneapolis?
I don't. Catch the people that are really bad and leave those people alone.
The city of Minneapolis had 1,300 of these Trinidad de Agua guys in their local jail, and they set them free in the city. Why didn't they turn them over to ICE?
Let them go.
Is this the new talking point? Leave these people alone? Is that Scarlett O'Hara you're quoting from? Hey, listen, I got to run, Doc.
Right.
Take care. Now, I want to play this now. If you're on hold, stand by, because of the language. Even though Nick Shirley didn't bleep it out, but he turns down the volume, I can't play this on the radio. So I can play it here online. So I want to play this. This was Nick Shirley's part 2 in Minneapolis confronting the Somali pirates of Minneapolis.
We're not because of fucking 2,000 providers. Are you fucking mad? Are you stupid?
I'm not stupid. You're stupid. Where's the transportation company?
What about if a mass shooting happens in Minnesota? It will be because of you. It will be because of you. If any Somali gets hurt in Minnesota, it's because of Nick Shirley.
This is about fraud.
One single Somali gets hurt.
This is about fraud, sir.
It's because of you. Sensationalizes. You son of a bitch. Sensationalizes.
Wow, you're very nice.
Out of our neighborhood.
Very nice.
Get the out of our
neighborhood.
Sir,
can you tell me where the transportation company is?
Out of our neighborhood. We don't want you here. Get the
Now, can you imagine? This guy's got an accent so heavy I can hardly understand him. He's telling Nick Shirley to get out of his neighborhood? Well, why doesn't this guy and his Somali pirate friends get out of our country? We got a foreigner here who's part of a theft ring, right? Remember, Nick Shirley went to a transportation center. There was no transportation work there. It was a liquor store. He's telling Native American Nick Shirley to get out of his country, out of his neighborhood, out of his city? Boy, oh boy.
Shirley.
This is about fraud.
One single Somali gets hurt.
This is about fraud, sir.
Of you. Sensationalizes. You son of a bitch. Sensationalizes.
Wow, you're very nice.
Out of our neighborhood.
Very nice.
Get the out of our
sir,
neighborhood.
Can you tell me where the transportation company is?
Out of our neighborhood. We don't want you here. Get the out of here.
Calm down, sir. Calm down, sir.
Get the out of here.
Sir, this is about fraud.
You want to clicks?
You're sensationalizing yourself.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is not safe for radio. So I'm playing this before the radio show starts. So if you're on hold, stand by.
You wanted clicks?
You're stationalizing yourself.
Clicks. You wanted clicks? You wanted the YouTube?
Tell me where the transportation vehicle is.
Clicks? You got YouTube clicks. Now get the out of our community.
Tell me where the transportation
out of our community.
Tell me where the. This is about fraud.
Say I don't want Muslims here.
This is about fraud.
Say I don't want Muslims here. Say it. I want to change the Constitution.
No, I don't want to change the Constitution.
Freedom of religion, and I don't want Muslim Somalis in Minnesota. Kick them out. I was born in this country. You have to take the passport away from me.
He was born in this country with that accent? Holy smokes.
That is what you are arguing for.
We're not talking.
Change the Constitution.
This is about fraud.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Get the fuck out of our community.
This is about fraud.
Get the fuck out of our community. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Stupid fucking idiot.
Tell me where the transportation company is then.
It's in the liquor store.
Obviously, for this video, we had to get security because look at this now. All right, we're going.
See, Nick Shirley's security, they said we got to get out of here. It's not safe.
But there is no transportation.
Wow. I mean, that's he is so good, isn't he? He reminds me of Caroline Levitt. Caroline Levitt and Nick Shirley are so good and so mature beyond their years. Big time, aren't they? Very good. And he keeps his cool the whole time, too, Nick Shirley. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air.
This is oh, okay. Sorry, it's not updating on my end. Name's Nick. I'm from Missouri.
Nick in Missouri. What's on your mind, Nick in Missouri?
I saw your what is it? Your thing about the fact that the Minneapolis rebellion. I was curious about how you perceive the situation. I guess.
Well, ICE agents are in Minnesota. They're in Minneapolis, carrying out the directives from the President of the United States, who passed the orders down to the Secretary of Homeland Security. And when you interfere with government business, you're involved in an insurrection. There's an insurrection going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's an insurrection against the federal government.
I guess, do you have any questions about how ICE comports themselves and how much training that ICE agents receive?
No, that's for the lawyers in court to deal with. You don't argue a court case on the streets. You go to jail, you get a lawyer, you go to court, and then your lawyer makes the case. You don't do it out on the streets with by hitting ICE officers with snow shovels like happened yesterday.
Hey, I guess my question is about specifically like your own thoughts about it, because my immediate thought when I saw your,
I'm proud of ICE. I'm proud of ICE.
Well, and I'm proud of our heritage as Americans that we come from literally a heritage of questioning the authorities that say that they
you don't question the authorities by beating them with snow shovels like happened last night.
I didn't stipulate that. I didn't make any in favor of that. I didn't put that forward. I appreciate that's an example that is something that
Martin Luther King and his followers never attacked people. It was peaceful demonstrations and sit-ins.
What happened to Martin Luther King?
He got shot.
Yeah. He did get shot.
Oh, so you're calling for violence? You're not calling for violence. You're against peaceful protest and demonstration? So you're against. So but this isn't. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Wait.
So you're wiser than Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi? Who do you think you are? You're wiser than those two?
I didn't say that.
Yeah. You question. Martin Luther King modeled his movement on Gandhi, and you said that he was wrong. They both got shot, by the way.
Didn't say that. Yeah, they both were shot. I'm not saying I'm. Can I speak? I want to offer you the time because it is your show. I don't want to.
I'm waiting.
Okay. Yeah. No. The only thing I stipulated there was it was wrong for him to be shot, but he had. I agree with you. The peaceful protest is the way. I think. Just in general, I think we all have to be. Very concerned with when it's our side.
Are you familiar? Are you familiar with the Montgomery bus boycott? Do you know what that is? The Montgomery bus boycott?
Yes.
Okay. For those that don't, that when Rosa Parks got arrested, and this is when Martin Luther King became a national figure. The Montgomery bus boycott went on for a year, maybe even longer, and it was a peaceful protest. Blacks in Montgomery did not take public transportation. And because of that, the public transportation, the city was about to financially collapse, and they got what they wanted without anyone getting hurt. That's how you do it. You don't go out and block ICE officers. You don't run ICE officers over. You don't hit them with your car and cause internal bleeding. You don't beat them with broomsticks and snow shovels. That's what Martin Luther King did. Organized the Montgomery bus boycott.
I guess I'm just perplexed by how willing you are to. I agree with everything you just said in terms of because Martin Luther King and Muhammad Ali.
Why'd you call me? Why were you triggered to call me? You saw me on YouTube and something inspired you to pick up the phone. What were you thinking when you first saw me and heard me that made you call? What was on your mind?
Literally, I wanted to engage with, just the idea of this being a rebellion. I guess not. You gave a legal.
No, and after January 6th, all the Democrats, Biden, Pelosi on down, said that if you interfere with government business, you are taking part in an insurrection. The ICE is carrying out the business of the federal government, so ordered by the President of the United States. So the protesters are interfering with government business, violently, by the way. That's an insurrection.
Well, I'm
right, right. It's,
I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, and I'm right, aren't I? I'm right.
I mean, if you would have an emotional response and feel like you won, I can continue talking.
I'm letting you talk. Yeah, you're dangling out there. You've got no response to what I said.
Okay. So my view on the situation is pretty clear. It is the fact that, the enforcement of this has been, there has been an incredible amount of examples of folks being manhandled or poor training on ICE agents. It's really early here.
It's early here too. I'm in Florida. It's early here too.
Well, I wasn't saying. I was just apologizing for the yawn.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate your perspective. I guess it's just hard because I'm not in the center on this.
No, you're on the left.
Way,
you're on the left. You're a liberal. You're on the left. You're with Antifa and the protesters out there. The anarchist. The rebellion.
I didn't know this was be. When you have people on, it's just this us versus them thing. Because I haven't even said anything like personally against you. I
have talked to over the years. I've been doing this a long time. I've talked to tens of thousands.
You haven't talked to me.
I've talked to tens of thousands of people on the show over the years, tens of thousands, and I could tell by the first syllable out of your mouth what your political persuasion is. Listen, I've got to run because I've only got about 10 seconds left. But
okay.
But call again sometime when you're awake.
No worries.
All right, take care. All right, we got about 30 seconds till the radio show starts. So if you're on hold, stand by. The radio show is going to start in 30 seconds. And then I'll open the radio show and get into that. And then I'll eventually go back to the phone. So if you're on hold, stand by. If you want to call in, toll free, 888-465-2631. But I got that guy. He didn't have any response. He didn't know what to say to any of that, did he? All right, stand by. 10 seconds. Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. It is Thursday morning already. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. On the radio since 1977, celebrating 49 years on the radio. And, of course, this is where MAGA comes to talk. All right, the Minnesota rebellion continues, and there was a lot of violence that went on until the overnight hours. We're going to cover that and talk about all of that on the program today with your calls. Also, Mayor Tim Walz, I'm going to play his State of the State speech coming up. Incited violence in his State of the State speech. And I'm going to play it as opposed to the soundbite. It's not that long. When I play his speech, I'm going to play it in its entirety in a little bit. And the reason I'm going to play it in its entirety is because I don't want liberals in the audience to claim that I am selectively editing what Tim Walz said out of context. Now, later I'll play a clip or two, but the first time I play it, I am going to play it in its entirety. There was another shooting. An ICE officer shot an illegal in Minneapolis last night, and I'm going to share this story with you. I'm going to read the account of what happened from CNN. And the reason I'm reading it from CNN is because they do tell what happens, although with their CNN, Clinton News Network liberal bent, no doubt. But, when we've got a lot of liberally impaired people in this audience, and when it comes to liberals, Democrats, progressives, whatever they want to call themselves, when you're talking to these people, you got to use their sources when you can, liberal sources. And the reason is, if I were to share the story from Fox or Breitbart or Newsmax, they would just discount it by, oh, that's Fox, that's Breitbart, that's Newsmax. They can't do that with the Clinton News Network, CNN. So that's why I'm sharing the story from CNN. So let me go through this. If you're on hold, hang in there. CNN headline, Federal Agent Shoots Man. Officials say assaulted officer in Minneapolis, prompting protest. Minneapolis officials called for calm Wednesday night. Yeah, barely. Give me a break. As heated clashes erupted near the scene where a federal agent shot and injured a man after he allegedly assaulted the agent 1 week after an immigration agent killed a woman in the city. I just love the phrases they use, the terminology they use. Just like an ICE agent just shot dead and just a woman going down the street. These people are out of their minds, okay? The Department of Homeland Security said federal agents were conducting targeted traffic stops. Have you ever been through that? Where, they have those DUI checkpoints. I've been through those over the years. So what? You get stopped, you get pulled over. That's it. You stop, you comply, you give them your ID. You don't run them over. You don't speed off. You don't refuse to put your window down. Whenever I get pulled over, before the police officer gets to my window, all the windows are down. Yeah, I have all the windows down in my car before the police officer even gets to my car. And I find they really like that. It makes them, especially if I've got my 4-door, they know no one's in the car with me. They can see in, and they know why I did it, because I want to help them out to help them so they feel safe. And they know I'm not a threat. And you know what happens? I usually get off with a warning. Now, you may say that's white privilege. No, white people, we get tickets too. That one BSO in that speed trap in Parkland, he's got me a couple times. The guy that shaves his head to hide his bald spot. Anyway, let me get back to this. Let me start over. I won't get distracted. This again, CNN. Minneapolis officials called for calm Wednesday night as heated clashes erupted near the scene where a federal agent shot and injured a man after he allegedly assaulted the agent 1 week after an immigration agent killed a woman in the city. The Department of Homeland Security said federal agents were conducting targeted traffic stops when the man, a Venezuelan national, an illegal, was shot in the leg after he began to resist arrest and violently assault one of its officers. The individual was transported to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. In the hours after, demonstrators gathered near the scene, facing off against law enforcement who deployed multiple tear gas canisters, pepper balls, and what sounded like flashbangs before officials told people to go home. The police chief said, I urge anyone that's at the scene to leave immediately. Wink, wink, like he really means it. The incident comes as the city continues to reel in the aftermath of the fatal shooting of Renee Good. Federal agent fired defensive shots, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The incident began at about 6:50 p.m. local time and involved a Venezuelan man who the Department of Homeland Security says is in the United States illegally. The man fled the scene in his vehicle, crashed into a parked car, and then ran away on foot. The law enforcement officer caught up to the subject on foot, attempted to apprehend him when the subject began to resist and violently assault the officer. During the struggle, Department of Homeland Security said, 2 people came out of a nearby apartment and attacked the officer. One with a snow shovel, the other with a broom handle. So here you have an ICE officer. He has no backup with him right now. He's on his own. He's fighting with this illegal Venezuelan, physical altercation. Then his 2 buddies come out of the apartment building and attack the ICE officer. One with a big old snow shovel. That's metal, man. The other one with a broom handle. So 3 illegal Venezuelans, I'm going to assume the other 2 were illegal too, are given a beat down to this ICE officer. After the suspect got loose and joined the attack, the officer fired defensive shots, Homeland Security said, striking the initial subject in the leg. The 3 individuals then ran back into the apartment building, barricading themselves inside. The federal government's narrative could not immediately be verified, CNN reports. Give me a freaking break. Homeland Security did not specify how long they were barricaded, but one individual was shot during the struggle. That was the initial subject, with law enforcement, and later refused to come out of a residence. He was removed by federal agents who made entry into the residence and took the person to an ambulance. The officer and initial suspect are both in the hospital. The two other individuals are in custody. And then it goes on for Minneapolis leaders with their wink, wink, nod, nod, peaceful demonstrations. Last night, Tim Walz gave a State of the State speech that was filled with technical difficulties and then incited violence. And then it happened. There's no question that the state of Minnesota, in particular Minneapolis, in Minnesota, is in a state of rebellion against the federal government. This is textbook insurrection. And that's not my definition. This is an insurrection by the definition of Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, and every other leading Democrat in this country. They told us on and after January 6th that if you interfere with government business, you are an insurrectionist, right? Remember that? You interfere with government business, you are an insurrectionist. These ICE officers aren't some gang that's descended on Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're there following the orders of the President of the United States and are carrying out government business. The protesters in Minneapolis are interfering with government business very violently. And tomorrow will be 2 weeks since Nick Shirley dropped his first report. And they started shortly thereafter. So we've had 2 weeks almost of violent insurrectionists in Minnesota. And why is this happening? I'll tell you after the break. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name is Brian Craig. It is tax season, guys. Don't do your own taxes. Don't get TurboTax. Don't go to that guy by the cash registers at Walmart from some tax agency. Don't go to H&R Block. Call Jamie Levac over at Swift Tax. He's Steve Kane's accountant. I met with him on Monday. He is amazing. He knows the tax code like no accountant I've ever talked to. Stop paying too much in taxes. Maximize your refund. Jamie from Swift Tax can help you with your taxes no matter where you're located in the United States. His office is here in South Florida, but he can help you no matter where you are in the United States, not just with your federal taxes, but your state taxes, local taxes. If you have a business, he can help you with your business taxes, your payroll taxes, even your bookkeeping. Give him a call, 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. That's 954-773-1587 for Jamie Levac at Swift Tax. We'll be right back. We're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Hank from Hollywood. How you doing?
All right, Hank. What's on your mind?
I called Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. He sent out Scott. Now, Scott is absolutely the best. Scott and Scott's crew are the absolute best. They gave me a great price. They did the job when they said they were going to do it. They finished the job when they said they were going to do it. The materials they used, absolutely the best. I want to thank Tom. I definitely want to thank Scott, and definitely want to thank Scott's crew. These people are number one, and I just want your listeners to know, Tom Laporta at Tom Laporta Roofing. If you need a new roof, call Tom at Tom Laporta Roofing. You're not going to go wrong. You're not going to be disappointed.
Do what Hank did. Call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, 954-604-4602, and online, laportaroofing.com. If you love making pizza at home, you already know the secret is the dough. But keeping dough balls perfectly shaped, properly fermented, and organized in your fridge, that's the hard part. Not anymore, thanks to KevJess silicone dough proofing boxes. KevJess gives every dough ball its own individual container, so nothing sticks together, nothing dries out, and every ball stays perfectly round. The tight-fitting lid locks in the right humidity, making 24 to 72-hour cold fermentation easy and consistent. Made from food-grade silicone, KevJess containers are reusable, easy to clean, and designed to save fridge space compared to bulky proofing trays. They're stable, reinforced, and perfect for home pizza makers using pizza ovens or anyone serious about great dough. Better fermentation, better shape, better pizza. Upgrade your dough process with KevJess silicone dough proofing boxes. Online at kevjess.com. That's KEVJES. They make great gifts too. Order yours right now and start baking pizza like it was meant to be made. kevjess.com. All right, we're going to be back shortly. We are still in radio station break. Okay. We've got about 30 seconds and we'll be back. You guys on hold, stand by. I got to cover some more things, but if you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. It's toll free, 888-465-2631. I forgot to get some fresh coffee during the break. I'll do it at the bottom of the hour break. I'll go get coffee. We're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Okay, so we're talking about the insurrection in Minneapolis, and that's what it is, and we got to call it what it is. I'm going to give this message today and tomorrow and every day, okay? If there is an anti-ICE protest in your town over the weekend, do not go, stay away. They're propping. They had one by my house on Saturday, a big one, over 500 people. I did not go. Do not go. That's what they want. That's the purpose of the protest, is to try to get you to go and instigate violence. If there's an anti-ICE protest in your neighborhood, stay home. Don't go. I'm telling you. Okay, so why are the Democrats doing this? And it's quite simple. They got caught with this $19 billion fraud operation. And I understand that the Somalis are the front people for this. And certainly they have responsibility for the fraud. But they didn't come here from Somalia and set up the largest financial scandal and biggest ripoff of federal funds in history. They did this with the organization of the Democrats who run that state. We know this. Come on. It's obvious. And the top Democrats in Minnesota are terrified of going to prison. So to avoid prison, they've done this. And you notice they're amping it up. But here in Florida, I tell you, Florida does not mess around. Listen to this. This is yesterday here in the state of Florida.
So our legislation will ban illegal aliens from benefiting from any down payment assistance programs or silent second home mortgages, whether it is done by a government agency, a quasi-government agency, or an NGO. Because some of these nonprofits will go out and they will create these programs specifically to go out and target illegal immigrants for down payment so they can purchase homes. So we believe that's important to be on the books because you never know what the future of the state of Florida is going to look like. I'd rather have it on the books than try to pass a law later.
Okay, so here in the state of Florida, there have been massive crackdowns on illegals. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand Florida that aren't Floridians. Florida is a much bigger state than people realize. This state is huge, right? From the Panhandle to Key West, it's a massive state. And a lot of people think that aren't Floridians that Florida is Disney World and the beaches. And that's a big part of it. But and we're a red state. And we've been a red state since Jeb Bush was elected governor in 1998. However, there are huge blue pockets, right? The Orlando area where Disney World is. Former sanctuary cities and counties up there. Jacksonville, and some other places. And Florida is more than just tourism. We have a lot of farming here. Big sugar. President Trump, lots of farming. Sadly, not oranges as much as we used to have. But you know, we have a big farming state and a lot of liberals. There's a lot of illegals in Florida. There have been, and there's been massive crackdowns in the state of Florida. You know, and Florida is where that semi-truck accident happened on the turnpike, where within the listening range of our radio stations where those people were killed by the illegal that had the license from California that did a U-turn on the turnpike. That's crazy, right? And so in Florida, there's been mass roundups of illegals driving 18-wheelers at the way stations along the road. And if you drive on the turnpike at I-95, I see this more on the turnpike than 95, but I drive the turnpike more than 95. But the Highway Patrol, I have noticed Highway Patrol officers over the last several months pulling big rigs over more than ever. In fact, I rarely see Florida Highway Patrol have regular drivers pulled over in regular vehicles. It's always, mostly when I'm driving down the road on the turnpike, people that are driving a vehicle that requires a CDL license that they're illegally giving to illegals in California and some other places. So there's been a big crackdown against illegals in Florida. This one I just played for you, I didn't even know this was possible. There's a crackdown on illegals getting home loans and things in Florida. But so why do we not have, with a massive crackdown in a massive state from the Panhandle to Key West, why do we not have violent protests like in Minnesota? It's because our governor doesn't play. If they started to do that here in Florida, most of our sheriffs would take care of business. That guy in Hillsborough County, I don't know, the guy that arrested the pastor for preaching during the lockdowns, I don't know what he would do, but he probably would do the right thing too. The sheriffs, most of them, would do the right thing and stop the protest instantly. But the governor has talked about this. We haven't had any of these types of protests where there's some of the biggest arrest of illegals going on in the country, and has been all year long, because our governor doesn't put up with it. Our local officials don't tolerate it. Our county sheriffs won't allow it. In fact, I've seen messages put out by county sheriffs. There was, I can't remember which sheriff it was, but by the way, this new sheriff in St. Lucie County, he's really cool. I saw an interview with him on the local news the other day. I like that guy. But one of the local sheriffs, it wasn't the St. Lucie sheriff, it was one of the Treasure Coast area sheriffs, was out there with the Highway Patrol talking about specifically stopping people to verify that they have a valid CDL license. I saw this the other day. Major crackdowns. None of these sheriffs would put up with this. The reason it's happening in Minnesota is because not only does the governor and the mayor and the local police tolerate it, they're encouraging it. After the bottom of the hour break, I want to play for you Tim Walz's State of the State, where he, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people that cover this today, everyone's going to cover it, are going to come to the same conclusion that Tim Walz was inciting violence. And, I mean, think about how low-life these Democrats are that are running the state of Minnesota, that they're inciting violence that's really bad. People are getting beaten. They're getting hospitalized. They're getting shot. And sadly, some are even losing their lives so that these thieves don't go to white-collar prison for 10, 15, 20 years. And what's their end game? Where does Tim Walz and this Jacob Fry, what is their end game? Do they actually think that President Trump is going to surrender and remove ICE? He's sending 1,000 more ICE agents in. So we're going to have a minimum of 3,000 ICE agents, which is about 10% or so of the entire ICE agent force into Minneapolis. There's more ICE agents than local police. No, they're not gonna leave. In fact, at this point, they can't leave, because if the ICE agents were to leave, what kind of message does that send? And when you look at the arrest that ICE are making, and I'm not talking about the protesters that egg them on and get arrested. When you look at the targets of their arrest, like this thing last night was a targeted traffic stop, so they got the identity of someone, maybe even a warrant. They're mostly violent, very violent murderers, sex offenders, and drug traffickers and dealers that they're arresting. They're not out there arresting protesters. Protesters get arrested when they resist or assault or something. There was this incident with this woman yesterday that they were trying to make her into the next Rosa Parks. She's pregnant. She's just on the way to the doctor. And they had to break her window and pull her out of the car. Turns out she wasn't on the way to the doctor. And she's had multiple run-ins with law enforcement in her time in this country and is illegal. And I understand them wanting to be here, and it looks like they have the local authorities on their side. But this is not going to end in the Democrats' favor. President Trump, it's not a coincidence that we have more ICE agents, and those aren't the only federal agents there. There's other federal agencies there. We have more ICE agents in Minneapolis than Minneapolis has police officers. So we outnumber the cops. It's not an accident. All right. We're going to take our break for the bottom of the hour. When we get back, I'll share with you Tim Walz's State of the State. And then Joy Reid commented on Minneapolis with the most bizarre analysis I've heard yet. All right, our number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. Call us on hold. You hang in there. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Back after this. All right, I got to freshen up my coffee. Hey, Brian Craig here. You hear me talk with attorney Barry Siegel every day about how we can help you and your family. Now here's one of our listeners, Frances, sharing her experience of how attorney Barry Siegel made a difference in her life and took a weight off her shoulders.
I was really looking for something to help me secure my holdings, which is actually not a whole bunch of bank account savings and a house and a car for my two daughters. I was worried that if I had just a regular will, things would get tied up in probate, and that would take 2 years. So I heard on the radio about Barry Siegel, the attorney. I gave them a call, and immediately they were so kind. They were so nice. They assured me that they could help. I went over there, and they sat with me, and we went over everything. And I ended up with this wonderful trust for my two daughters. So if something does happen to me, things just turn over to them, and it'll make it so much easier for them. And it took a great load off of my mind as to how I would take care of my two daughters. I was very pleased with the attorney, Barry Siegel. Finding him helped me assure that my two daughters will be well taken care of in the event that I won't be here.
Give attorney Barry Siegel a call right now. Toll free, 855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782. And online, SiegelLawGroup.com. This is Brian Craig. I've been telling you about the great deals and incredible customer service at Friendly Tire on both new tires and used tires. One of our listeners, Antonio, went to Friendly Tire and called to share with us his experience of buying used tires at Friendly Tire in Margate. Good morning. You're on the radio.
Hey, yes, Brian. I want to give you a quick testimony about the tire place up in Margate, Friendly Tire. Friendly Tire is everything you said it would be, man. I went up there and got me some used tires. And when I went up there, man, he was very courteous. My whole family's going for that, man. Everything you said it was going to be, man. I appreciate you for that, man. And Mike's a great guy, man.
Well, what's your name?
Antonio.
All right, Antonio. Hey, I'm glad we could save you and your family lots of money on tires at Friendly Tire.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thanks so much, man.
Do what Antonio did. Stop into Friendly Tire and find incredible deals on both new and used tires. Give Friendly Mike a call right now. 954-977-9445. 954-977-9445. And Mike will give you a quote right over the phone. 954-977-9445 for Friendly Tire in Margate. All right, we got 1 minute. I got to grab my coffee. Be right back. All right. About 25 seconds. Stand by. We're back. I'm Brian. This is Steve Kane's show, Florida's longest running radio show. Okay, we're talking about everything that's gone on in Minneapolis since, well, you went to bed last night. It's been pretty rough there. So Tim Walz did this state of the state address, like Governor DeSantis just did the other day, except in Governor DeSantis says he didn't incite violence, and his went off technically clear. I'm going to go through the whole thing. It's not that long, but I want to play this one clip of it, then I'll play the whole thing uninterrupted. It started off with some big technical snafus. Listen to this. What an embarrassment.
So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, and I know it's end this occupation. We all have to defend You've done enough. Justice and humanity. Let me say 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota.
Okay, I'm not going to play it much because I don't want to give you guys a headache, but you could hear him twice. They had the delay as well as the speech itself coming out. And he's a bunch of geniuses running the state of Minnesota. If you need bricks to throw into a business window, if you need some incendiary devices to torch a place, if you need some of that, they're right there. But if it's sound, if it's audio, well, they're not too good at that. All right, so let's go through this. This is Tim Walz's State of the State.
Going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
Now this right here, point out where their, the race card. Yeah, I was just, this race card thing, remember, Rush Limbaugh. Rush said the Democrats, they got that old worn-out playbook they always go to. The race card's one of their favorites, and they're not knocking on doors asking where people of color live. But they're hiding. Everything I hear from Tim Walz here is desperation. And as I see him in this State of the State, he looks. They got him all made up for this. He looks like he's lost more weight than the last time I saw him last week. And the reason that he's losing weight is he's in a panic that he's going to get arrested by federal agents in the middle of the night for all these things that are going on and being uncovered by Nick Shirley and others inside Minnesota. And you can tell he's lost a lot of weight, but he's right out the gate, he's playing the race card.
Going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers.
Now, this demanding to see their papers, this is right out of Nazi Germany or the Soviet Union. Papers. None of this is true. All of us get stopped in traffic stops. But if you are a U.S. citizen who is stalking federal agents, honking horns, and blocking their vehicles, yeah, they may ask you to get out. They may stop you and ask you to get out of your car. And if you're a U.S. citizen, you don't have a right to stalk, harass, block, or interfere with law enforcement, including federal law enforcement.
Grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools. They're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans.
Okay. Gee. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Where is this video of a pregnant woman being dragged down the street? And so far as breaking windows, I watch these videos online. I'm sure I mentioned it this week more than once, of the sovereign citizen arrest. Do you guys ever watch? I love the sovereign citizen videos. These are lunatics. They get pulled over and they won't roll their windows down to the cops, and they always end up breaking the window and pulling them out of the car. Your window only gets broken in a traffic stop when you refuse to roll down your window or exit your vehicle when asked. They will break the window after many, many requests. Breaking the window is a last resort. They don't like doing it, but they will do it if you don't follow their lawful order. But who is this pregnant woman that's being dragged down the street video? What is Tim Walz talking about? If there was a pregnant woman being dragged, now I'm not talking about someone who claims to be pregnant. I'm talking about an actual pregnant woman. If there was a pregnant woman being dragged down the street by ICE officers, believe me, that would be the lead story on every newscast in the world, not just the United States. I've yet to see it.
Kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process. Let's be very, very clear. This long ago stopped being a matter of immigration enforcement. Instead, it's a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota by our own federal government. Last week, that campaign claimed the life of Renee Nicole Good. We've all watched the video. We've all seen what happened.
Yeah, we
and
did.
Yet, instead of conducting an impartial investigation so we can hold accountable the officer responsible for Renee's death, the Trump administration is devoting the full power of the federal government to finding an excuse to attack the victim and her family.
Okay. Now, by the way, her father-in-law of her late husband has come out and said that sadly the ICE officer had to do what he had to do. We saw the video of her running him over. The ICE officer in the Renee Good incident, we find out, has internal bleeding. He's lucky to be alive. But see, this is what I mean. Tim Walz, this is the incitement of violence, every aspect. He's justifying the violence and inciting more of it. And freedom of speech ends when your speech harms others. And I don't mean harm someone's feelings. I mean physical harm. He's inciting violence. He's justifying violence. If he was a half-decent man, and he's anything but, okay, there's nothing about him that's decent, Tim Walz would call for all the protesters to go home. If you're from out of state, go back home to your state. If you're out there in the streets, go home. We got to cool things off. People are getting hurt. People are getting shot. Go home and call for a meeting at the White House with the president on how they can move forward. But no, he is increasing the violence. He's inciting more insurrection.
Just yesterday, 6 federal prosecutors, including the longtime career prosecutor leading the charge to investigate and eliminate fraud in our state's programs, quit their jobs rather than go along with this assault on the United States Constitution.
This assault on United States Constitution, on the United States. Anytime you hear liberals talking about the Constitution and honoring the Constitution, they're tearing up the Constitution. They're burning the Constitution. They've been telling us, my entire life, I've been hearing from the liberals, the Constitution doesn't apply anymore. It was written by white slave-owning white supremacists for the purpose of maintaining white supremacy. Right? How many times have you heard that from the left? Whenever they praise the Constitution, they're doing just the opposite.
But as bad as it's been, Donald Trump intends for it to get worse. This week, he went online to promise that, quote, the day of retribution and reckoning is coming. That's a direct threat against the people of this state, who dared to vote against him 3 times.
Okay, so now what we have is, I mean, this is insane. Tim Walz is now calling on people to take a... This is how I read. Am I being too harsh on him? I don't think so. I think I'm being mild, tell you the truth. But it sounds as if he's calling on the protesters not only to continue what they're doing, but describing what they're doing as a defensive action against an overbearing federal government.
And who continue to stand up for freedom with courage and empathy and profound grace. All across Minnesota, people are stepping up to help their neighbors who are being unjustly and unlawfully targeted. They're distributing care packages and walking kids to school and raising their voices in peaceful protest, even though doing so has made many of our fellow Minnesotans targets for violent retribution. Folks, I know it's scary, and I know it's absurd that we all have to be defending law and order, justice, and humanity while also caring for our families and trying to do our jobs. So tonight, let me say once again to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, end this occupation. You've done enough.
Wow. So is he in this occupation? So he's calling for the federal government to leave Minnesota? Is he declaring Minnesota a free and independent state from the federal government? Is he declaring that Minnesota does not have to obey the federal government? That's what the Democrats said in 1860 when Lincoln was elected. He's formed a single state confederacy here, the Confederate state of Minnesota.
Let me say 4 critical things to the people of Minnesota. 4 things I want you to hear as you watch the news and look out for your neighbors. First, Donald Trump wants this chaos. He wants confusion. And yes, he wants more violence on our streets. We cannot give him what he wants. We must protest loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. Indeed, as hard as we will fight in the courts and at the ballot box, we cannot and will not let violence prevail.
Okay, now see this part here, this is the disclaimer. You ever hear the ads for new cars? You can get a brand new car fully loaded for like $50 a month, and then they do that real fast. This is the disclaimer that he's doing right now, okay? These are the legal disclaimers. So after he's justified the violence, after he says you're defending your state and defending the people of Minnesota, who include illegal, violent foreigners that are there in the country illegally, then he does the disclaimer so that he's not legally liable for any of the violence. Give me a break. I don't think this would hold up.
You're angry. I'm angry. Angry's not a strong enough word, but we must remain peaceful. Second, you are not powerless. You are not helpless, and you are certainly not alone. All across Minnesota, people are learning about opportunities, not just to resist, but to help people who are in danger.
See?
Thousands upon thousands of our fellow Minnesotans are going to be relying on mutual aid in the days and weeks to come.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and I'll come back and we'll finish with Tim Walz. And I'd like to hear from you guys. Am I being too hard on Tim Walz? Is he inciting more violence? Is he justifying the violence that's going on out there? Is he involved in an insurrection against the federal government? 1-888-465-2631. 1-888-465-2631. Back after this. All right, stand by, guys. We'll be back shortly, and we'll finish up with this. We've got about a minute, and we'll be back. I tell you, it's crazy what's going on. Crazy what's going on. All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. If you've not already made a reservation for our 10th annual MAGA cruise with me, Brian Craig and Steve Kane, do it. Call in at 561-244-5779. We're going to have a great time like we always do, but this one's going to be extra special. We've got some of the best shore excursions ever experienced by cruisers. I'm telling you, we really work hard on these excursions. We're on a great ship, the Celebrity Beyond. You're going to love it. We have a great MAGA group. This is our largest group ever that we've had, by the way, on this cruise. And on this MAGA cruise, the onboard activities, for those of you that have been back on our past cruises, oh, man, you're going to be blown away. We've got some great things planned. So call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot, 561-244-5779, and join us. Also, if you get his voicemail, please leave a message, 561-244-5779. All right, so let me finish up with Tim Walz's really incitement of violence State of the State speech, and then we'll take some calls, and I most definitely want to hear your thoughts on this.
And they need our support. Tonight, I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities.
Oh, boy.
You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution. The third thing I want to say to you tonight is we will not have to live like this forever. Accountability is coming at the voting booth and in court. We will reclaim our communities from Donald Trump.
Wow.
We will reestablish a sense of safety for our neighbors, and we will bring an end to this moment of chaos, confusion, and trauma. We will find a way to move forward, and we'll do it together, and we'll not be alone. Every day, we are working with business leaders, faith leaders, legal experts, and elected officials from across this country. They've all seen what Donald Trump is trying to do to our state, and they know their states could be next. And that brings me to the fourth thing I want to say tonight, Minnesota, how incredibly proud I am of the way that you've risen to meet this unbearable moment. But I'm not at all surprised, because this is who we are. Minnesotans believe in the rule of law. And Minnesotans believe in the dignity of all people. We're a place where there's room for everybody, no matter who you are or who you love or where you came from. A place where we feed our kids, we take care of our neighbors, and we look out for those in the shadows of life. We're an island of decency in a country being driven towards cruelty. We will remain an island of decency, of justice, of community, of peace. And tonight I come before you simply to ask, don't let anyone take that away from us. Thank you, protect each other, and may God bless the people of Minnesota.
Oh my goodness. Not once did Tim Walz condemn any of the violence being done. And notice who he calls Minnesotans. Illegal Venezuelans. That's who he's talking about, right? The illegals that are being deported. Holy smokes. All right, what say you? Let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Scott, and I'm calling from Kansas City.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah. One thing I want to say about what I'm taking away from this with Walz is elections have consequences.
Oh, yeah.
This guy could have been VP right next door to a woman who's a screwball who has an alcoholic problem.
Are you talking about Willie Brown's girlfriend?
Yeah. And who would never did anything but hang out in her office and drive her staff crazy.
Mm-hmm.
This could have been bad. Elections have consequences, and I hope that this lesson will be. I hope that people and advocates will put this in people's heads who are just go about and go to the store and watch the football game. Get it into their heads. Elections have consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, I mean, I don't know if I would call this somebody who's calling for an insurrection. Also, I wonder about what it's going to be like when Newsom does pretty much the same thing now. He's not going to be an infidel.
Well, no, if you remember at the beginning of Trump's second term, this happened in Los Angeles. Remember, the Battle of Los Angeles, and the president had to send the National Guard to protect the ICE headquarters. And remember the ICE officers and the armored vehicles were being attacked in the streets by, and it got clamped down on, and they stopped it. And the local officials backed off. Even Karen Bass. So they in
I
California.
do remember that.
Yeah. So the
the
LAPD, they're all liberal and everything else, but in the end they complied, and the president sent the National Guard in and ran them off and got control. He sent in the U.S. Marines. Remember, he sent in Marines. I think from Pendleton into Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. I just heard that he's going to ramp it up in California way more, fivefold.
So you don't see Tim Walz here as inciting violence? It seems like he's inciting violence to me.
Yeah, I mean he is. This is almost a calling for an insurrection.
Well, he's justifying. This ICE officer that shot the illegal Venezuelan in the leg last night was being beaten by 3 illegals. One had a snow shovel, one had a broomstick, the other one just had his fist. But they were all 3 of them beaten on him. I mean, and he's justifying, Tim Walz, in this speech last night, he's justifying all these actions. All of them.
Well, I didn't hear about that.
Hear about what, that incident?
Oh,
you must have just tuned into the show. We started 6 a.m. What time zone are you in Kansas City?
I'm in Central Standard Time.
This show starts at 5 a.m. Central. Set your alarm.
Yeah. I mean, I pick up on you, driving to the.
I'll recap it after. I'll recap it after the top of the hour, but I'm not giving you a hard time. But yeah, no, there was a ICE officer shot the illegal Venezuelan in the leg only after he was being beaten on by 3, and he had no backup with him yet. He was all by himself.
Well, what I was afraid of before all this began, but they were going to launch it, is somehow there was going to be counter propaganda against all of this, and I was expecting the mainstream media to show Jews being put aboard trains and that sort of thing.
Well, I don't know what President Trump has planned here, but he's obviously not going to give in and leave. He's amped up. He's ordered 1,000 more ICE agents to Minneapolis, so there's going to be at least 3,000. I mean, he's dealing with England, right? England. He's dealing with Iran, and he's dealing with Venezuela. And if he could deal with the mullahs and the Ayatollah, and he could deal with the communist of Venezuela, he can handle Tim Walz and Jacob Fry.
Plus, he's doing Greenland too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's got a plan here in Minnesota. I mean, I don't know exactly what it is. We'll find out. All right, Scott, I appreciate the call.
Take care.
Yeah. So if you're just tuning in, since Scott wasn't familiar, and I'll recap it after the top too. Last night, of course, we had a whole night of violent protest. There was they said a targeted traffic stop. So I guess that means they stopped someone they were looking for. It was an illegal Venezuelan. He ran. He was followed by an ICE agent. They got to a certain area near an apartment building. 2 friends of the illegal Venezuelan came out. One had a snow shovel. One had a broomstick. And they started beating the ICE officer, who did not have backup with him yet, with the snow shovel, the broomstick, and then the guy he was initially chasing was beating on him with his fist. The officer took out his weapon and shot the initial guy in the leg, and the other 2 fled. All 3 are in custody. Okay, the guy that was shot in the leg is okay. He's in the hospital, as is the officer, as of the last report from CNN and Fox News. If he's been released, I haven't seen the update yet. So, and after that, the violence throughout the night escalated with these lunatics going to the scene of where the initial traffic stop was and claiming victimhood, and that's what happened. Now, in the next hour, I'm going to move on to some other incidents with it and some other stories, because a lot did happen yesterday other than this. So we've got a lot that we're going to cover on the program. If you're on hold, hang in there. And I do want to remind everybody that we are in tax season. And the biggest mistake you can make with your taxes is doing your taxes on your own. Jamie Levac over at Swift Tax, he handles Steve Kane's taxes. And there's a recorded commercial that's running on the radio station. You may have heard it with Lewis. He's a listener of ours who went to Jamie Levac. He had an accountant for years, told him he owed taxes on past years. Jamie Levac from Swift Tax looked over his taxes and said, no, you paid too much. Called the IRS for Lewis. Now Lewis is getting a refund on past years. Hasn't even done this year's yet. It's amazing. Jamie Levac is incredible when it comes to taxes. Call him at 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? 954-773. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hello. I'm a big supporter. Been a long time fan.
Well, good.
Oh, my name's Daryl.
Hey, Daryl.
How have you been? I just want to call and give some support and say,
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah. Oh, boy. See, I've got a good ear, people. I've got a good ear. That's something you develop over time. Oh, boy. You know, I've been on the air through so many incidents. And, the LA riots and all these things in between. This is the only time I can remember. And I was really thinking hard about this. By the way, if you're on hold, hang in there. We'll go back to the phones in a bit. This is the only time I can remember when we had the local officials encouraging the rioting. Even in the LA riots, which were brutal. Oh, my goodness. People forget, what that was like. Remember Reginald Denny and all that stuff? And the local officials were seriously calling on it to stop. And then Rodney King came out and said, can't we all just get along? And, you look at these events over the years, this is the first time that we've had local officials justify the violence, from the local police chief to the local mayor to the governor. And that's what makes this one so different and unique. A lot of people think, oh, you guys are just standing up for this because you're Trump supporters and all that stuff. No, I mean, Trump's on the right side of this, as always. But no, this is a very unique situation. The only other time that I know of when something like this has happened was before my time, when the Democrats in the civil rights movement were opposing the federal government when it came to desegregation. And you had Democrat governors and local officials and local police, like in Selma and other places. All of them were Democrats opposing the federal government then. But that was 60 years ago. But like now, it was Democrats. But I'm talking about in my time, I've not seen anything like this. Kent State may be I have to think a little hard. Kent State might be the last time that protesters were attacking representatives from the federal government and then were told that they were doing the right thing. Remember those kids in Kent State? It was a tragedy that happened, but they attacked the guardsmen at Kent State. All right, we're going to take our break for the top of the hour. It's the Steve Kane Show. My name's Brian Craig. We'll be back right after our top of the hour break. Don't go anywhere.
Tom Laporta here from Laporta Roofing. Happy New Year, health, wealth, and happiness, and may 2026 be your best year. The first quarter of each year is the slowest for roofing contractors across Florida due to the lack of rain, vacationers, and recuperating from the holiday spend. We have secured 2024 pricing on certain roofing materials with our suppliers for the first quarter only. So if you are planning on a new roof in 2026, take advantage of our first quarter low pricing now. These savings are significant, especially for multiple building HOA and condo associations. This covers shingles, tiles, and flat roof systems, so give me a call on my cell at 954-604-4602 or find us on the web at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602 or on the web at laportaroofing.com.
On the line, we have Lewis. He had some issues with some taxes in past years, and he called Jamie Levac over at Swift Tax, and Jamie took good care of him. Lewis, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. So tell me how Jamie from Swift Tax helped you on your taxes.
I was having trouble with another company. I called Jamie, and the next day I brought my wife in there with all the paperwork, and he straightened all my back taxes out, and I'm actually getting money back now.
Wow, this is pretty amazing. So this other company you went to told you owed the government money, and Jamie over at Swift Tax took a look and found out that not only did you not owe money, you're getting money back from the government?
Yes, I got nice big checks coming soon.
Do what Lewis did. Call Jamie Levac over at Swift Tax. 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. All right, we'll be back in about a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. Now, you're welcome to call in. Let's see. We'll be back in less than a minute. We're back. The 7 o'clock hour has begun. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. My name is Brian Craig, and well, let me take a call or two, then we'll get into new stuff. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Do you like to suck cock?
Yeah, well, no. Mike, gonna keep that finger busy, I tell you. It's gonna be one of those days, I'm telling you. All right, let's get back to it. You know, part of the problem that we have in the country these days, with the Democrats is this. Okay, in the past with the Democrats, while we disagreed, if you're on hold, hang in there while we wait for the delay to re-engage. In the past with the Democrats, we might have disagreed on the issues, but there was still a meeting of the minds so far as the country. And what's happened with the Democrat Party is that the Democrat Party has been taken over by a couple of different groups of people. One are activists, right? A lot of activists like Presley have taken control. And then another group that's taken a lot of control are people that are foreigners who have gotten U.S. citizenship, and now they're in Congress. And you know, there's this new tactic that the anti-American crew are running is something that we really aren't really, I guess, set up to talk about. And I'm going to play this clip. It's from... I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name. You know, the Indian member of the House of Representatives. He's the congressman that didn't even know the local places in his district. Remember that? He was quizzed and he still got elected. And I don't know how long he's been a U.S. citizen. He's got a very heavy accent. He's out there wanting to abolish ICE. And I remember Nancy Pelosi. The only time I think I ever agreed with Nancy Pelosi is when the squad first came to Washington. They were acting crazy. AOC and the rest, they just were acting very strangely. And it was mainly Tlaib and AOC. If you remember, Tlaib had CARE come over to her office, which was crazy. And Tlaib and AOC and the squad they were on a roll because they were being celebrated by the media and they were doing and saying a lot of stupid things that aren't important right now. And Nancy Pelosi came out and said, you know, when you become a member of Congress, you're no longer an activist and you have to behave like a member of Congress. And what's happened with the Democrats at the congressional level, they've been taken over by activists. And, you know, when you're in a primary election season, which we're kind of in now, although the primaries haven't fully started yet. But you may have heard this analysis by pundits over the years during primaries. In primaries, historically, people running for office in both parties cater their primary messaging to the activist of their party. And then after they win the primary, they move towards the middle. You ever heard that? Because voter turnout's pretty low during primaries. They always reach out to the activist wing to try to stir them up to get them to get that voter turnout, especially the Democrats. But then they go to the center after the primary and sound more reasonable. What's happened, though, the lunatic fringe of the activist wing of the Democrat Party are now the members of Congress, like this guy.
And we must reform ICE, but it looks at this stage, folks, ICE is beyond reform. ICE is totally out of control, and this week I intend to introduce a bill to abolish ICE. We need to make ICE go away. 2003, before 2003, without ICE, various federal agencies were able to take care of business, and we can do this without ICE. But we do not need the murderers. We do not need these paramilitary organizations, members on our street terrorize us.
Okay. So, Scott Bessent, he said the other day, he said, Americans are the most generous people in the world. But when you come to our country, he said, you got to learn which side of the road to drive on and not steal. And what he meant by which side of the road, didn't mean that literally, although we don't want you driving on the left side of the road. You got to know our ways. And if you notice what happened here with this guy, you have to be a natural-born U.S. citizen to be president and vice president, but not for Congress. And the Democrat Party as a group is very much out of the closet, not caring anything to do for Americans. And what's happened, so many people have been red-pilled in the last couple of years since Butler. Butler really did it. Butler is when probably the biggest red-pilling occurred, when a lot of people that never, my mother voted for Donald Trump. She never voted Republican in her life, and she voted Republican for the first time in the last election. Okay, we didn't even talk about politics when I get together with my mom because she always voted Democrat, but she voted for Trump. After Butler, so many millions of people woke up and said, you know what, they are really trying to get this guy. And the Democrats have realized as a party, they've lost the black vote, they've lost the Hispanic vote, they've lost huge chunks of all these different groups that we used to call the victim groups, the gay vote. They've lost even the union vote. That's why you have Fetterman on television all the time talking like he's some MAGA Republican, even though he votes with the Democrats 99% of the time in the Senate. So the Democrat Party as a whole has completely given up on the American people and are now catering their message to illegals. And you see it time and time again. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm self-sucking.
There we go. Okay. See, Mike, you're going to get a lot of finger action today. This is one of those days that, and with the Democrat call, if you're on hold, hang in there. We got to wait for the delay to re-engage. With the Democrat callers, when we're winning, when they're behaving like that. When they're winning, they're in good spirits. They're calling in and laughing at us and having a good old time. But when we're winning, they try to get disruptive. But I'll tell you what, the show will always go on, especially this one, and you'll never be successful in disrupting the show. All right, if you'd like to call in, the number's toll-free, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. The rest of you on hold, you hang in there, and we'll go back to the phones in a few minutes when the delay re-engages. Joy Reid, who is really Joy Reid's really a sad person. She was on Top of the World, and then she blew it over on MSNBC. But she gave a podcast interview yesterday, and in the podcast interview, she gave what very well is the most bizarre analysis I have ever heard in regards to what's going on in Minneapolis. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Here's Joy Reid.
This woman was part of a group of people who they trained to try to be ICE interrupters. And what they try to do is observe what ICE is doing, film them, and try to use their white privilege, to be honest. They're mainly white people.
Which is what we ask.
Which is what we ask them to do, right? Because black people, like, we can't put our bodies on the line because cops will shoot us. And so the presumption had been, particularly a white woman, because remember, part of the rationale for doing this with ICE is to save white women, pristine white women, from being ravaged by, criminal brown men.
I mean, this is so, like what Tim, now this is a little different than Tim Walz because he's the sitting governor. But what when J.D. Vance said, he filled in for Charlie Kirk. After Charlie Kirk's assassination, the first Charlie Kirk show was hosted by J.D. Vance at the White House. And that was a great show. And he said a lot of important things. But one of the things that J.D. Vance said, and may have been the most important thing he said, it's certainly what I remember the most from the show, is that there's no meeting of the minds with the left anymore. There really isn't. There's no agreement. There's no give and take. They're lost. And we have this tragedy. And what are you hearing from Joy Reid here? You're reading this is nuts what she's saying. She's saying that Renee Good went and did what she did because she thought her white privilege would protect her. So they put her at the front line to protect all these brown people.
So white women, have been taking the lead in being the ones to step forward and challenge ICE and to say, as white people, we can step to ICE and step to police in a different way. In this case, this white woman and her wife, who's also a white woman, were driving in an SUV. They parked to try to block ICE from snatching people out of a suburban neighborhood. This was not like on the mean streets in Minneapolis. This was in a suburb.
Yeah,
with,
the
like,
neighbor
houses.
was a doctor.
The neighbor's a doctor. This is a quiet white suburb. So they're driving and they park. The ICE agents come up to the car. They get out of the car and to shorten it, they bang on her door and tell her, get out of the car. They order her to get out of the car. She panics and starts to back up to get away. And one of the ICE officers, Jonathan Ross, shot 3 times into the car, shot her in the face and killed her. The reason I think this is significant and is different from the previous shootings is, to me, this is a George Floyd moment.
And not far from
where that happened, right?
See, everything with Joy Reid is a George Floyd moment. See what I mean about no meeting of the minds? Now, I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas and annuities. Annuities are amazing. I've heard about annuities my whole life, and I heard people talk about them and everything else. I didn't understand them until I met with Joe Thomas. I talked to Joe Thomas for just 5 minutes, and I had a complete understanding of annuities. And I said, why isn't everybody doing this? It's amazing. With annuities, your money is never at risk. There could be a Great Depression tomorrow. You're not going to lose a dime. Plus, you're guaranteed income each and every month for the rest of your life. There's all kinds of other great benefits too, and different types of annuities. Make sure you take advantage of the no-charge consultation, and Joe Thomas will go over the different kinds. There's some annuities where you get a bonus on day one, 10% bonus on your money on day one. So if you invest $100,000 in an annuity, you just made $10,000 on day one. There's some that even give larger bonuses. One of my favorites is the income doubler. If you or your spouse, because your spouse is on the annuity too, have a medical condition, your monthly income is doubled. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, you got a medical condition, all of a sudden it's $4,000 a month. There's many other types of annuities as well. Give Joe Thomas a call. It's a no-charge consultation that you can take advantage of no matter where you are located in the United States. And of course, if you're local, you can meet him in person at his office in Jupiter, but you can also take advantage of that no-charge consultation over the phone or through Zoom. And after that free consultation, Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you based on your situation and your goals. Here's his number, 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. You can also find his number on his website, jupiterjoe.com. We'll be right back. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Cocksucker.
There you go. Okay. You're on the air. Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Steve from Staten Island.
All right, Steve, hang in there. You'll be up after the break. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name's Tom.
Yep, we want to talk
from St. Paul, Minnesota.
All right, hold on. You'll be up after the break. We'll be back in just over a minute. All right. "30 seconds. We'll be back. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Steve from Staten Island.
Hey, Steve. What's up?
Yeah. Well, the thing is I just trying to understand what the people of Minnesota are trying to do. We're trying to get rid of the people here illegally. Does the word illegal mean anything to them? First, you look here talking to they're following a guy, Welch or what?
Walz, Tim Walz.
Really, I mean, Walz, yes, who's got his hands in the pot, let's put it this way, with that child care thing and all this other.
Well, you know what it is? You hit on it there at the end, okay?
Yes, sir.
These protests are not organic. These are paid protesters. Now, again, when you have paid protesters come out, that doesn't mean that some real protesters don't join them, okay? But these are paid protesters. Right. This financial scandal in Minnesota is the largest financial scandal in history, $19 billion, more money than the human mind can envision. They have plenty of money to spread around. These guys don't they don't require too much to get them out in the streets. So these are paid fake protests. They are not protesting the immigration raids. They are human shields protecting the Democrat officials from being arrested for their financial crimes. That's what's really going on.
Let's put it in the war season, and the truth is what you said. They should be tossed in jail as well. I mean, you're not really protesting; you're just bought and paid for.
Correct. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
All right. Well, it's always if only the rest of New York thought like Staten Island did, you know what I mean? Then Republicans would win the state. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there. This is Tom calling from St. Paul, Minnesota.
All right, Minnesota. Yes,
hey.
You called me. What's on your mind?
Well, just wanted to talk about the ICE agents that are running kind of wild here in my city.
What do you mean wild? You mean a group of ICE agents have just come to Minnesota and are just reckless and are on their own? They're not under the supervision of the Homeland Security Secretary or the President? They're rebelling? What do you mean?
Well, they're carrying out the orders of the president, and the president is a wild man himself.
Well, he was elected by the popular vote. So what are they doing that's reckless and out of line?
Well, let's see here. They've shot 3 people. They're kidnapping citizens. Like the kid that worked at Target was a citizen.
Kidnapping. Hold on a second. They're kidnapping. Wait a minute. So you said they're kidnapping American citizens. And what are they doing with them? Okay. So when they kidnapped an American citizen who worked at Target.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happened?
South American citizen.
Slow down.
Target.
Wait a minute.
They grabbed him. They threw him on the ground.
Wait a minute. You said a South American citizen? Hold on. Slow down. Slow down. Hold on. I'm trying to take what you're saying and absorb it. Okay. You just told me that they picked up a South American citizen. What's a South American citizen?
I said no. I did not.
Yeah, you said a South. You said they picked up a. You said a South
American. That is an American citizen.
Okay, he's an American of South American descent. Okay, so he was kidnapped by ICE agents, and then what happened?
They drove him 8 miles away while they verified his citizenship.
And then what?
Finally figured it out, and then they threw him out of the van.
Was the van moving?
Away.
Was the van moving when they threw him out?
No, I don't believe it was.
Okay, so they didn't throw him out. So what you're telling, this is interesting. So you're telling me that they detained.
Those are his words.
Excuse his words, I'm sure. Yeah. Who gave him those words? Benjamin Crump. So this is interesting. You're telling me that ICE agents, oh yeah, you know Ben Crump, right? Trayvon Martin's family attorney. So they detained a U.S. citizen of South American descent, right? They held him. They did a check. They found out he's a U.S. citizen, and they released him. Okay, so what?
Well, they threw him on the ground. They pushed his face into the concrete.
Where's the video? Have you seen the video? I haven't. Where can I find the video? Where can I find the video? Where can I find the video of this? They put his face in the sidewalk?
I don't know. Google it.
Google it.
Google's your friend.
There's with my friends, there's no place that has better security cameras than Target. Target has cameras everywhere, inside and out, and they have 4K video. You see it when you check out at the self-checkout. And if you ever watch ID, I watch a lot of ID. When they always are showing video.
You do.
Yeah, they're we got to keep up on what the Democrats are doing. And if you watch ID, they have a lot of video that's from the entrances.
I mean, if you're not getting laid, you might as well sit around and watch TV, right?
Well, okay, there we go again. Trying to have a conversation. ID, they always have video from the parking lot and the entrances of Targets and Walmart. If ICE rolled up and slammed somebody's face into the sidewalk at a Target, believe me, that video would be everywhere. Now, I'm sure the guy made that claim. Anytime you get pulled over at a traffic stop and they take your license and go back into to their car, you've been detained. And I'm sure that's happened to most people that drive cars. And what are they doing when they go back there? You've done nothing wrong except maybe a rolling stop at a stop sign. Or maybe you're going a few miles an hour over. They're in the car with your ID, and they're checking out who you are to see if there's any warrants. This is what they do. Now, if it's your local cops, it's probably just speeding or something like I said. But if you're stopped by feds and you're Hispanic, they're going to find out if you're a U.S. citizen or if you have a bench warrant for not showing up to the immigration judge when you were supposed to show up 5 years ago. And an instance like that means that ICE did their job. They're not kidnapping people. Law enforcement aren't kidnapping people. They stop and detain people and verify their identity. That's it. And once they verify your identity and that you don't have warrants, thanks for your time and you can go. All right? You know, this is one of those issues, I tell you, the left, they don't think too clearly, do you? And you can see these liberals when I have conversations with them. At the end, they do their lifeline. They say something you can't say on the radio, so we have to discontinue the call. Now, this may be the most important question I ask any of you today. Do you or someone you know suffer from neuropathy? Oh, man, you know it's tough, isn't it? The numbness, the pain, the burning, the tingling in the hands and feet, the muscle weakness, the loss of balance, the dizziness, the falling down all the time, the muscle twitching, the feeling of pins and needles in the hands and feet, maybe no feeling at all. Man, neuropathy is rough. If you have neuropathy, there is a treatment that works and lasts, and that's, of course, at Lighthouse Medical Center in Pompano. They can help you no matter where you're located in the United States, but they rid Steve Kane of his neuropathy 3.5 years ago, and here we are 3.5 years later, his neuropathy is not returned. Call Lighthouse Medical and say goodbye to your neuropathy. Make sure you tell them you heard about them on the Steve Kane Show so you can take advantage of their no-charge consultation. 754-222-6642. 754-222-6642 and online, lighthousemedicalcenter.com. We'll be right back. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
You're a faggot.
There we go. Okay. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning.
Hey,
bro.
Richie, hold on. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey there, how you doing? My name's Jamal from New Orleans.
All right. Okay. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, man, I love Trump, man. Trump's my man.
All right, hold on. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm John from Florida.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about, John?
Yeah, I'm talking about, well, the illegal immigration is embedded all over the United States. I know I was up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and they call them contractors. What they do is they hire the illegal immigrants.
Hey, hold on. All right, we got 20 seconds and we'll be back. Winners today. All right, welcome back. I'm Brian. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. Our number toll-free, 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning.
Oh, hey,
Brian.
Richie.
This is Richie.
Hey, what's up?
I listen to these Democrats, so I gotta break it down to all you not Democrat, not Democratic, because you're far from Democratic. I got to bring it down to your level. In Florida, we have a supermarket chain called Publix. If you go into Publix and you're looking for meat, there's a meat section. Okay, you're not going to look for meat in the produce or the dairy or the shelves or the in other words, you're going to go to the meat department. ICE is in Minnesota. ICE is in Minnesota because Minnesota decided to make this the meat department. So it's the only place. So they're stopping cars because this is what Minnesota.
No, that seems like I get what you're trying to say, but that's a very awkward and strange illustration.
I got what you're saying, but what
there's let's get into a little bit more. Okay, yes, there's the mayor of Minneapolis. He says, why aren't they here? Why aren't they there? There's illegals everywhere. Well, they got to start somewhere, and in this particular case, not only are there a whole bunch of illegals, but there's this huge financial crime going on. So, that's it.
That, but here's the deal. You said, why does this happen in Florida? The difference between Florida is when they lock up some of these criminals, when they don't release them into the public. They call ICE. ICE walks in, takes them out, and you don't see protests all over the place. In Minnesota, they let all these criminals back out on the street because they're their neighbors. That's what they try to con job. We're all neighbors. Well, I wouldn't want a criminal next door to me, so they put all these criminals out there, and ICE has to go into the streets.
And something tells me that we're not going to have to worry about whether or not Venezuela is going to take back their illegals. I think Venezuela is going to cooperate moving forward, since President Trump's the president of Venezuela now.
I see ICE, and I tell you the truth, I don't think they're strong enough. I'd like to see it. I hate to say this, but the abuse that I see them taking every night by these people, the vulgar language, I guess that they call that free speech. I call that, I don't know what I could call that.
Well, I remember, if you remember, in President Trump's first term, he said that the ICE agent, they were doing deportations then too, not at this level, but they were doing deportations, and he was talking about how some of the ICE agents were scared, that they said that these guys, the Trinidad de Agua guys, they're like ISIS dangerous, Al-Qaeda dangerous.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then these politicians go and they sig their goons on them, and that's what these protesters are, goons.
Yeah.
And then when a couple of them get snuffed, and then they're screaming, they're killing our people.
Well, when you hear, what's it like?
It's like the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
The first one, when they were trying to break into the house, the zombies. That's what they look like in the street.
You can hear it by the liberals that have been calling me, right? This is what the ICE agents are dealing with in the streets. These are the average protest types.
Zombies, man. Total zombies. They're getting paid. I mean, the other day, 2 days ago, at the Hilton Hotel where the ICE agents were sleeping, they were there, hundreds of them, threatening to break into the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you?
I saw a story yesterday where the ICE agents were in a restaurant, and they were. If I were an ICE agent, the last thing I would do would be to eat in a restaurant. I wouldn't let them prepare my food.
Poison them.
Oh my goodness!
I wouldn't let them touch my food.
I see a lot of cops at Chipotle when I go to Chipotle, and the reason I think they go there is because you can watch them make the food, right?
Yeah.
It's right there in front of you.
The scariest thing to me is to think that this guy Walz could have been a heartbeat away from the president of the United States. This crazy man. This is an insane man.
Yeah.
I mean, I never seen anything quite like this in my lifetime. I mean, you couldn't make this crap up. I'm sorry.
All right, Richie. I agree with you. I appreciate the call, Richie. You make some good points. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm John from Florida. I'm just calling. Yeah, we have a big problem with immigration.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Barnes from Birmingham, Alabama.
All right, Birmingham, what's on your mind?
I can't wait for the State of the Union address. It's going to be a barn burner.
Oh, my goodness. I forgot about the State of the Union. Yeah. There's been so much going on. When is the State of the Union? It's next month, right?
Next month.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, and oh, boy. I forgot all about it. And that's... that's when presidents typically make some big announcements.
I can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. All right. Appreciate the call. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. That is certainly. Now, this may not be the type of story we normally cover, but I wanted to talk about it in particular. Did you see this actor, this Timothy Busfield? He's married to Melissa Gilbert, and he surrendered himself on some child abuse claims. And, he used to be on the West Wing, and Melissa Gilbert, his wife from Little House on the Prairie. Remember, she was Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie. And when the story first came out, Busfield, it involved allegations made by two twin boys that were actors on a show that he was directing. Then there was a second, I guess that's two allegations in one because they were twins. And then there was a story that federal agents were looking for him. They did get him in custody and arrest him, and I saw him in the orange jumpsuit. But when he was on the lam, so to speak, there was another allegation. This one was involved a 16-year-old girl and, these liberals. The second allegation, I think it was the one of the girl. The girl's father was a therapist, and we don't have the details of what he did or what he is accused of with the girl. But the father is so liberal, he didn't want the actor arrested, even though he was inappropriate with his daughter. He wanted him to go to therapy. But this Timothy Busfield, he's known for two shows. One was 30-something. You guys remember 30-something? I never watched that show, but I remember the show. And then he was on The West Wing. Now, I can't speak to 30-something, although I was those of you that have listened to me for a long time, remember my radio show that I started out with back then? Those of you that are old enough to remember when I first started all those years ago, remember what my first show was called? My first overnight talk show? 20-something? Remember that 20-something? It was a play on 30-something. It was on when 30-something was on TV. We started this show and we called it 20-something. I know, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But that's what 30-something was on the air then when it started doing. But mainly, I know him from the West Wing. There is never that West Wing show. People have forgotten about the West Wing. Martin Sheen, President Bartlett, was one of the most left-wing preachy shows you've ever seen, of which he was a cast member. And while I don't take any satisfaction in someone doing crime, especially these crimes, when you see someone who is a member of a television show that's one of the most left-wing preachy shows in the history of television, The West Wing, and you find out there's such a creep, it does say a lot about the left. Although Melissa Gilbert, this really surprised me about Melissa Gilbert, Laura Ingalls. She's standing by her husband. Something's changed with her because she used to be a Republican, and I always assumed she was. She was president of the Screen Actors Guild, and she was married to Bruce Boxleitner. And Bruce Boxleitner, I had a connection to him through a friend, and I spent some time with him. And he and her previous husband, they were hardcore Republicans. So I don't know how she got hooked up with this weirdo, but another liberal bites the dust. All right. We'll take it to the call or two before the break. Although the call quality today has been You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? This is Jamal calling back from New Orleans. How y'all doing?
Well, we're doing. How you doing in New Orleans, Jamal?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I love Trump, though. I'm glad that he's cleaning up this country finally.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as that Minneapolis situation, that lady hitting the ICE agent, she really hit him real hard, and he bucked her off 3 times. I mean, God bless him. Good for him. That's another cracker off the street.
Come on. Why would you say something so stupid? Why would you say something so stupid? Here's the thing. I know. The quality of the calls today isn't yesterday. Yesterday we had, you never know how it's going to go. Yesterday, high quality calls. Today, low quality calls, low quality people. You know, when you're dealing with the left, and you see this today, you know, I'm trying to think, when is the last time, and you guys that are regular listeners, maybe you'll be a better judge of this than I am, because I talk to so many people, I can't keep them all straight. When's the last time we had a call from it? We get a lot of calls from Democrats. When's the last time we had a real serious logical discussion with a Democrat when it didn't degrade into something inappropriate? I'm racking my brain. I can't think of it. It's been a long time. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Coastal Weight Loss Secret's amazing. It's been a year since I first met Dr. Zuckerman over at Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Amazing. I lost over 35 pounds. I haven't gained a single ounce back. I did it without exercise, without starving myself, eating foods I would normally eat. And also, this is a big thing. No pills, no injections. You know, I see people all the time on television that take those pills and injections, and you know it a mile away. They don't look well, and they have to take them like forever, or they gain the weight back. With Coastal Weight Loss Secret, there's none of that. And keeping the weight off has been as easy as it was to lose it. And, you know, I still, you know, I'm not starving myself, and I eat what I want to eat, even still today, and I've not gained the weight back. Coastal Weight Loss Secret can help you no matter where you're located. Give them a call and schedule your no-charge consultation, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlossecret.com. We'll be right back. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Patricia.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Monica from Boca.
Okay, hold on, Monica. Okay. Oh, yes. We'll be back shortly, guys. Hang in there. We have 1 minute. We'll be back. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Richie. I'm calling from Florida.
Richie, you've been on twice.
I haven't been on twice. This is the first time I've ever
Oh,
called.
Richie. Oh, I thought it was Richie the bus driver.
No.
You sound like Richie the bus driver. Okay, all right, hold on. Doesn't that sound like Richie the bus driver? It sounds like Richie the bus driver, doesn't it? Let me know. Did that sound like Richie the bus driver to you? All right, 10 seconds. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. All right, we got about an hour and 13 minutes left of the show. Let's try to elevate the quality of the calls moving forward, and then we'll do a whole clean slate after the top of the hour break. Oh, my goodness. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. It's Patricia from Massachusetts.
Hey, Patricia, what's on your mind? Yeah, turn down the volume in the background of whatever device you're listening to me on, all right?
Gotcha. Right. Yeah, I can't hear it on my phone when I'm on hold. I just sent you a video on X. I don't know if you've seen the left-wing lunatics getting all the paperwork out of that officer's car about they had maps of where they're looking for the people. They had where they're staying at their hotel. They had their, how to do things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, from Status Coup News.
I forget where.
Yeah, there it says. It says. Now again, I don't know. This is unconfirmed reporting, but Status Coup News, who's very left wing, it's being said on X that they broke into a federal vehicle and stole federal documents about federal agents on a live stream. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, oh boy. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. It's Monica from Boca.
Hey, Monica.
I want to say I love your show. Hi, for always bringing us the true facts.
Yes.
I'm calling because I went on the coastal weight loss program, and I love it. I wasn't heavy, but I needed to lose about 10 to 15 pounds. In 30 days, I lost 11 pounds. My waist was 38. I am now at 33 and continue losing. I'm eating healthy. I'm in my 70s. I feel great. I look great. My clothes is fitting me once again. And I want to put out there to your listeners that they guide you through this journey. You're not alone. It's a great program, and I'm very happy that I'm on it. Well, I want to share that with everyone.
I think we just heard the new Coastal Weight Loss Secret commercial, and you're going to be a part of it. I do appreciate that. You know, I didn't think I needed to lose weight either, but then when I saw my pictures with our listeners at Wings Plus on Inauguration Day, I hope you guys delete all those pictures. Because, you know, when you gain weight, you see yourself every day. You don't realize what's happened. And when I started losing weight, I realized how bad I looked. And that's amazing. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I just want to say, this is the first time in my life that I'm dieting. My stomach was so distended that I couldn't get the weight off. And it works. It's fabulous. I love it.
All right.
I feel great.
Well, listen. All right. Take care.
Thank
you. I'll give out the number again, the Coastal Weight Loss Secret. Yep, that is going to definitely be the new Coastal Weight Loss Secret commercial. This is the only show anywhere where listeners call in and do commercials. It's amazing. 561-247-6300. Remember, it's a no-charge consultation. 561-247-6300 and online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right.
Hello?
Yeah, okay, you just made it. Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Richie. I'm calling from Florida.
All right, Richie in Florida. Yes, you're on the air.
What do you want to talk about?
You called me.
I'm waiting on you because you wanted to have an intellectual conversation, so here I am.
You called me. I didn't call you. Why'd you...
Okay, well, you want to talk about the first...
Well, if you take issue with something you've heard me say, just bring it up.
Well, you said when people get pulled over, you're being detained. Well, they have to have probable cause to be pulled over. Let's start with that premise.
Correct.
And then getting somebody thrown in a van and dragged down a thing that completely violates the Fourth Amendment, which I posted, and then you delete it. So, you know,
I didn't delete
citizen,
anything, and I don't know who you are.
Bro, I'm in your chat.
Oh, you're watching me online. Okay.
Talking.
Well, I didn't delete anything in my chat, and I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, somebody did, because I literally posted the Fourth Amendment and it was deleted.
Well, whatever. Listen, here's the thing. So far as the excuse me. So far as this story of the guy from Target, all we have is the good word of the person that was detained. And I think that what they've said is highly suspect. What happens a lot of times when you're dealing with these ICE events, okay, they do sometimes take people away from the location, like say the Home Depot parking lot or the Target parking lot. Why do you think they do that?
Well, because they're racially profiling people in direct violation of the Fourth Amendment.
No, okay, no. I don't need some. I'm not looking for telemarketer cookie cutter answers here. Okay. You're in the Constitution. Slow down for a second. I thought you said you were. Excuse me. I thought you were into intellectual discussion. Is what you claim.
I am.
Okay.
But you're completely avoiding. You're just dismantling. Like you're just.
No. If you are an ICE agent and you're in Minneapolis, and you detain someone. Now here in Florida, we have a large Hispanic population, and you can tell when you're in certain areas who the legal and illegal people are. But sure you can. If you've detained someone, if you are an ICE agent and you're in Minnesota, you're in Minneapolis, you detain someone at a Home Depot parking lot, a Target parking lot, a Walmart parking lot. You might, as you're detaining them, you might move to another location just a short distance away. Why would you do that?
Well,
as the ICE agent,
any type of reaction from the general public.
That's correct.
But again, Brian, you're completely ignoring the fact that they have to have an articulable probable cause, right? In order.
Well, who said they didn't? Who said they didn't? You know, when this is the thing.
Because they're a brown person in Home Depot or Target?
No. If you go to a Home Depot parking lot, you see a bunch of guys that don't speak English, dressed a certain way. It's not because there's other factors. It's not just skin color.
Is that illegal?
Well,
is it illegal?
To what? To use
Is it illegal?
No.
Okay.
No, because when you're dealing with I give you an example. Like a lot of times liberals call me and I'll tell them you're a liberal, and they're like, well, I didn't say I'm a liberal. How can you call me that? But they are. And what I'll tell them is, with all of my experience talking to thousands of jerks like you, I can tell you're a liberal by the first syllable out of your mouth. Like you, I could tell. You had some tells. Okay?
Right.
ICE agents...
You know nothing about me.
Oh, I know enough. I know enough to know you're a liberal.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Right? You going to deny that? Okay, no denial.
I'm not going to deny anything.
Yeah, because I'm right. Okay, the ICE agents, like other police officers, have a lot of experience, and they don't profile someone just because of their skin color. Of course they do.
They're hiring the Proud Boys.
They are on the street dealing with people, and they have an educated profile that they use to detain someone and question. Sometimes they have warrants. This incident in Minneapolis last night.
You just said the word, Brian, profile.
Yes.
They're profiling.
Correct.
People. You just literally made my
There's nothing wrong with that.
Come on, man. What do you mean there's nothing wrong with it? It is a direct violation of the Fourth and Fifth Amendment.
No, it's not. There's many factors. It's not just skin color. It involves dress. It may involve skin color as one part of it. The way they're dressed, their lack of English, where they're at, all kinds of things. Tattoos.
Clothing is illegal?
Tattoos.
So now clothing is illegal? Oh, tattoos are illegal?
Well, if you have tattoos that are MS-13, you might be a member of MS-13, and that's a terrorist organization. You know, you're not. Listen. You know this. You just hate Trump.
Look, I grew up in the tri-state area in Philadelphia, New York, and New Jersey.
So what?
Trump's been enmeshed in my culture since I was a child. I'm 52 years
old.
Oh,
so you've never liked him?
Absolutely right. I hate Trump because he's a freaking moron. But that's
he's a moron,
right?
He's a
We're
moron.
Not even talking about him. We're talking
no, we are because I mean, look at what just happened. I mentioned Trump, and look how triggered you got.
I didn't get triggered.
Absolutely, you did.
I just explained my position, and I
no. You went into this whole bio. You went into this whole bio of yourself. You're all right. He's this.
Yeah, because
you have Trump derangement syndrome.
Whatever. Like, if you want to debate Trump, we can debate Trump.
No. See, this is the thing. You don't care about the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, and you don't care about the illegals.
I absolutely do.
You dislike Trump. What do you dislike about Trump so much? Why do you hate him?
He's a liar. He's a thief.
Pick his biggest and most recent lie.
His biggest
and most
lie?
Recent. Biggest and most recent in his second term. Pick the most recent lie, big one.
Okay. He just said that the protests in Minneapolis are fake.
He would be right. Renee Good was somebody from another state who was training people to harass ICE officers in Minneapolis. I asked you for a lie.
She was a mom dropping off her kid. Come on, man. See, you always move the goalpost.
She was dropping. Wait a minute. A mom dropping off her kid? She was dropping off her kid in front of an ICE SUV in the middle of the street in a residential neighborhood?
Do you understand what I'm saying? You said, tell me his biggest lie.
That's not a lie. That's not a lie. All right, listen. I'm up against a break. I'm up against a break for the top of the hour. I appreciate the call.
Yeah, of course you are.
Well, I am.
Oh, okay. Do you want me to hold? We can come back. I'll wait.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Kind of tough when people know what they're talking about, right?
Well, when I get somebody on the line that knows what they're talking about, we'll discover that. But so far, I haven't. I asked you. You said he's a liar. I asked you for a lie, and you told me a truth he told. All right, take care. Oh my goodness, it's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back after this break. Callers on hold. Hang in there.
Okay, here you go. Good morning.
Hey.
Are you there?
I am there. We got 2 minutes.
Two whole minutes.
2 whole minutes. Did you have somewhere you wanted to go, or?
No, that last call was great.
Yes.
That last call was
Richie
masterful.
from Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I love it.
Oh.
Just see if you might as well finish with open phones here. That last guy, if you won't want it, we can insult this last guy.
Yeah, we can talk. You give me some analysis. We can analyze his. You know what it's like. Hold. Let me put you on hold for a second. I don't want to tell you what I'm going to say till we get back, because I'll tell you when we get back. I'll give you my analysis, and you can give me yours. But I'm going to forget mine if I don't. Let me give you mine first. It's short. All right, hold on.
Sounds good.
Hold on. These callers, they just don't realize how many people we've talked to. You know everything about them by the way they say hello. And they're so oblivious and not self-aware at all. But hold on. Okay, we got 1 minute. Less than a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. Steve and I have to do some psychological analysis when we get back. 30 seconds. The 8 o'clock hour has begun. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian Craig. Steve Kane joining us. Hey, Steve.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, we were
great call, that last one.
Well,
great call.
I wanted to give you my brief analysis. It'll be quick because I'll forget it. Okay. And then we were talking about this caller during the break, and a lot of times it blows my mind that these callers are shocked that you and I can tell so much about them just by the way they say hello to us when we put them on the air. We learn everything in the first 2 syllables, sometimes even less. It's like name that tune. I can name that tune in 3 notes. I can name that tune in 1 note, And
yeah.
But when it comes to these callers, a lot of times with that particular caller, Richie from Florida, that I before the top of the hour.
I like him. He's a great caller.
No, he's very good. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. That call to me, I felt like I was a therapist, and we got to the root cause of all of his problems. He's got daddy issues with President Trump. All of his opinion, everything in his
Trump
life.
derangement syndrome, extreme.
Yes.
Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, it's all about Trump. Yeah. So I don't quite get that.
Poor guy. Yeah, well, what can you do? There's a lot of it around nowadays. In fact, it's dominating. That's one of the reasons I worry about the election a little bit. I'm afraid that we're taking a Republican win for granted when, in fact, it may not be as easy as it looks.
Well, it's all turnout.
There's no alternative. It's not a question of that. I mean, the Democrats, by the time the election comes, could come up with somebody that could make a decent candidate, and I don't know. I don't want to. I don't mean to jinx anything or to wish ill of Don, who is one of the great candidates of all time, if not the greatest. But don't get overconfident. I'm just telling you that.
I'm not overconfident. It's all about turnout. If we get a mass turnout and swamp them at the polls, we'll win. If we don't have a huge turnout, we'll lose. It's all about turnout. But a caller reminded me in the last hour, there's been so much going on, it hadn't occurred to me that the State of the Union's coming up in a few weeks. And that's going to that's probably going to be a barn burner. That may be the greatest State of the Union of our lifetimes because there's so much going on.
You want to know something I heard when you were talking about it earlier, and what struck me is State of the Union used to be a big thing, but since Donald Trump has been president, it's lost a lot of its luster because every day is State of the Union with Donald Trump.
That's true. Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted to do a recap on what happened in Minneapolis last night for those that are just tuning in, because this is a big. There's been another ICE shooting in Minneapolis. They said it was a targeted stop. So ICE did a targeted stop, which means they either had a warrant or they knew who they were pulling over. It's a Venezuelan illegal. He bolts. An agent, he didn't have any backup with him, chased him down, and they run by an apartment building, and the Venezuelan illegal, 2 of his friends come out of the apartment building, one with a snow shovel and the other one with a broomstick, and the 3 of them start beating the ICE officer. So the ICE officer, he's all alone. There's no backup yet. He's being beaten with the snow shovel, beaten with a snow stick, or a broomstick. And then the third person, who was the original guy he was chasing, is beating him with his fist. And the ICE officer took out his weapon and shot the original guy in the leg. They got all three. They're all three illegal. They're all three in custody. And then immediately the Democrats dispatched the protesters to the scene, and then all, you know what, broke loose in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And what I was talking about, Steve, is, you know, these are fake protests. These are not organic protests. Even Renee Good was from another state.
No, that's for sure.
Okay, I know she
sure.
dropped her kid off before. Yeah, but she's still from another state with out-of-state plates and came to town to harass. Okay, so the protesters aren't illegal. When they had these protests in Los Angeles last year, they were Mexicans. There weren't too many Americans in the protest in Los Angeles. Remember, the president brought the Marines in.
Absolutely.
Those were Mexicans. Here, they're all white people. They're not. They're not the Hispanic protesters. These are paid protesters, and and they're being paid by the Democrats to try to stop them from uncovering the fraud that Nick Shirley uncovered.
A thick file on these guys, you would think. By the time the election time is running around, of course, we got 2 years before the election.
The presidential,
but I'll bet you they have all kinds of information on this organization, and they're going to send that mayor. All day I've been trying to remember. Fry, what's the name of the mayor?
Jacob Fry, the Minneapolis mayor. Jacob Fry.
They made a deal with him. I can tell you overnight last night they made a deal with him, because he came out this morning. He was so respectful. He's especially obnoxious, and he came out this morning and he was respectful, and he was polite, and he was rational, and he was all this stuff. And you could tell somebody had pulled him aside and said, "Look, you know, we've got this file that's 5 feet thick on you, and you're going to wait for a long time. If you want to if you want to see a little bit of the earth before you get buried, it's time for you to ease up a little bit." And boy, he was like a different person. It was unbelievable. Listen for it today.
It's like you're saying they made him the offer he couldn't refuse.
Exactly right. You put it the best.
Yeah. Well, what
I
think is going on in Minneapolis is, obviously these are paid protesters by the Democrats. If these were immigration protests, they'd all be Hispanic, not a bunch of white people. But what I believe,
they come from all over.
Yeah, what I think's going on is the feds are trying, and they're probably doing it. They're infiltrating the movement. They're bringing agents in to join the protest, to get inside, so they can become inside spies to find out who's funding all of this. But, you know, J.D. Vance and them have been talking, who's paying for the bricks? Who's paying for these paid protesters? So I think the feds are, after 9/11, they did this with mosques, right? The feds infiltrated mosques all over the country. That's what they're doing in Minnesota. They're getting inside these protests.
Quite plausible.
Yeah,
plausible.
And that's why they're letting them continue. Because ICE, they could stop these protests if they wanted to. They could stop them. These guys are pretty big, and there's 3,000 of them.
Well, that's the big election. That's one of the biggest of his, if not the biggest of his election promises.
Yeah.
That he wants to be able to, during the campaign, point to and say, "Look at what we've accomplished. This is what we promised you.
Exactly.
This is what we've, you know."
Yeah, so that's what's going on there, and I have no doubt in my mind that it's just it's an infiltration. That's why they're allowing it to continue.
But watch the mayor today if you get a chance. Fry, he was really a snotty liberal.
So it's like it's like they took the evidence to him and said, "Hey, this is what we got."
Yeah. You're going, as John Contini used to say, to tell him that he was going off to see the wizard.
That's right.
And then give him a chance to see daylight if he behaves himself.
Well, I missed that. I'll take a look. Another thing too, and I was expecting to see this by this morning. President Trump said yesterday. Did you watch his milk bill signing yesterday?
Yes, I watched most of it.
Okay. When he, no matter what the event is about, you got to watch it because when he takes the questions at the end, things heat up. He said that the Iranians told him that they're not going to kill any of the protesters.
I watched the whole thing about the Iranians, which I thought was the big story, but nothing happened yesterday. In fact, it was kind of anticlimactic.
I'm not so sure. Okay,
well, I'm not so sure it's over.
Well, I wasn't sure I was going to bring this up. I want to bring this up. My house is due south of the airport that the president uses. Okay, and when he flies around by helicopter in Marine One, it flies over my house and everything. Yesterday, it was in the evening, like around 6 o'clock or so last night. There were 2 squadrons far apart of major military helicopters flying over my house to Homestead and back. And they were big ones, and they were flying in formation, in squadron formation, and 2 different squadrons came. And from the direction, it looked like they were coming from the Palm Beach airport going to Homestead. And then they came back. So they flew down south, picked up something, I don't know what, and then they flew back. Both squadrons. I don't know if they picked up people, machinery, but they're the big old military helicopters. And to me, it seems like something's going on with Iran because the president comes home every weekend to Mar-a-Lago. And you saw what Iran put on television. They put on an image of the president in Butler saying, fight, fight, fight. And I'm not going to say on the air what the Iranians said on Iranian state TV, but if you've seen the story, you may have seen it. They were taking credit for Butler and were promising to do it again with a different conclusion. And,
I saw the quote.
Okay. So to me, I saw these military helicopters flying over my house south down to, I think, Homestead, and then back towards the airport in Palm Beach. It looks like they've increased security for the president to come home. That tells me there's something going on with Iran. It just made me think that if anybody is in the area and saw those helicopters last night, you know what I'm talking. My house was shaking. They were so big. When those helicopters, they're not like normal helicopters. Okay. The whole house was vibrating. I thought the stuff I had stacked in the garage was going to fall. I don't have all the Christmas decorations put away securely yet.
Do you have any plausible possibilities about where that story, the Iranian story, goes from this point?
It tells me that the Iranian squads were after him all last year. Remember, and they all but said they were behind Butler. And President Trump wants to take them down because he doesn't want to have to be dealing with them for the rest of his life when he's no longer president. So I don't think President Trump's taking them at their word that they're not going to harm the demonstrators. I don't think so. I think that there is going to be a major military action against Iran. That thing they put on television.
What's going to be the premise?
I don't know.
What do you see as the storyline?
I don't know. But when I saw these Army helicopters last night flying over, and I know people in our listening audience saw and felt and heard them. They were low, they were loud, and they're the big ones. Okay, they're the big ones, the ones that escort Marine One and everything. There's something they're preparing, and what the Iranians did on Iranian television yesterday was almost an act of war against the United States. I considered that to be a threat against the president. And I know he did, and he's not messing around. Listen, we got to take our break, okay? I'm losing track of time. I'm going to put you on hold, Steve, and we'll be back.
Hello?
Hey, Jamie, it's Brian.
What's going on, Brian?
Hey there. Hold on. I'll be right back with you shortly. Hold on. Steve.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got Jamie, the accountant. When I get back, I want to do the spot with him. I'm going to keep you on hold, then I'll go back to you. Okay? So you'll be on hold a little
Okay.
longer. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, hold on. Jamie, we have 2 minutes and we'll be back, okay?
All right, no problem.
All right.
I'll wait.
Okay, hold on. All right, Jamie, 20 seconds, so just stand by. I'm gonna keep you on until we go.
All right.
All right,
I'm
hold
going
on.
to talk about...
All right, hold on. Just hold your thought. We're too close. Hold on. All right, it's tax season. We're back, and on the line, Jamie Levac from Swift Tax. Jamie, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Brian?
All right.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, boy. Well, it's tax season. What do you have for us today, Jamie?
Well, I wanted to touch on a few things, one of them being no tax on tips. Now, this was talked about for a long time, and when this bill was passed, they put it into motion, and basically it means that if you're a server and if you're in the tip economy, prior, they would not take out the federal income tax on your tips, and at the end, it would be reported on your W-2, and basically you would owe money back as if you were a 1099 on a W-2. And a lot of servers ran into this problem, and they were very confused on how, what's the solution? The solution is that Trump changed the law, so now you don't have to pay taxes on that.
That's an amazing thing. It's a major raise that people are getting. And, back in the old days, taxes or tips were all done in cash, but nobody carries cash anymore. And, so the tips are all electronically done, and people have been paying a lot of taxes on those over the years.
So in the past, they were cash, so they wouldn't have an opportunity to even get a chance to tax them. Now, 90% of tips are on the credit card, so it's going to show up on your statement. The other thing that's new is no tax up to a ceiling on overtime.
Oh, that's huge.
So there is a problem, and anyone that's listening who has a lot of overtime probably understands this problem, that you go over a certain amount of hours per week for overtime, and depending on how much money you make or made that week, you could get bumped up into the next tax bracket. So just picture this, Brian. You have a check, and just for number's sake, you make $1,000. Next week, you make overtime you should have netted $2,000, or because you jumped up into a tax bracket that's higher, you're now only making $1,400 extra dollars, or 14 total on your next check. So you worked $1,000 worth in hours, but you only got an extra $400, and that's sickening.
It's crazy. Yeah, people are like, why did I even waste my time doing the overtime hours when I'm getting docked?
You should be rewarded for hard work. You shouldn't be penalized for hard work.
And there's so many people, as an example, police officers who work a lot of overtime, and now that there's no taxes on that up to a ceiling, that's a big bump in your pay. You know, these are just a couple of things in the big beautiful bill. The entire tax code has changed, and Jamie Levack at Swift Tax, as you can hear, knows the big beautiful bill and the new tax code inside and out and backwards and forwards and everywhere in between.
What you don't want to do as a person filing their taxes is go to someone who has no idea the changes, because their system is not going to recognize the changes and not going to apply them to your specific situation.
That's correct. And that goes for doing TurboTax, H&R Block, or those people at the checkout lines at Walmart. It's crazy, crazy. And remember, Jamie Levack at Swift Tax, his rates, his fees are incredibly reasonable, but tax preparation is 100% tax deductible. So that's
true.
That's good. Listen, give Jamie Levack at Swift Tax a call. He's located right here in South Florida, but no matter where you're located in the United States, he can help you not just with your federal taxes, but your local state taxes, your city taxes. If you're a business owner, he can help you with your business taxes and your payroll taxes and all of that as well. This number rings directly to Jamie Levack, so you can call or text 954-773-1587. 954-773-1587. That's 954-773-1587. All right, Jamie Levack, good to talk to you. We'll talk soon.
Nice talking to you, Brian. Bye.
All right, take care. All right, we're back. All right, Steve Kane, you back with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I just got a text from a friend of mine who's about the helicopters, and he said I was going to text you. I was going to text you last night at 6:35. The helicopters, they were flying over my house in formation. 3 military shaking my house up, and that was when they were going back to Palm Beach. They must have been heading to Homestead. There were 2 different formations, and they came just a few minutes apart in perfect formation down to Homestead and back to the Palm Beach airport. And and the president's been coming here, Steve, for years. Okay, we're in his second term, and it's non-consecutive. I've never seen this happen before, and I follow. Believe me, because I love living so close to the president. I follow this very closely. I've never seen it like this happen ever before.
Well, there's nothing hard to believe about it. I mean, obviously, it is. Sometimes it is what it is.
And then there was
sometimes a banana is just a banana.
Well, they're preparing that. Well, it leads me to that there's going to be a strike against Iran, and they're gearing up. And the other story.
Well, hold on. Wait a minute, you lost me. I buy everything you're saying about the helicopters, why they're there. I don't understand where Iran fits into it.
Because these helicopters, these 2 squadrons of helicopters, they're not usually around. Yeah. They're not usually around. They're never around. So there's an increase in the military presence in Palm Beach that is not usually there. So that tells me there's something going on. On top of you see, we had a few things happen, right? We have everything that's going on in Iran. We have Iran yesterday taking credit for Butler and threatening to do it again on Iranian state television. And then this leaker was caught. Did you see the leaker the Pentagon leaker that they got?
No, that fell between the stories with me.
This was amazing.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so you probably if you're on hold, stand by. These are big stories, okay? And we're going to go to the phones after the bottom of the hour break. It was a story in a couple beats. The first part of the story that came out yesterday is that the FBI raided the home of a Washington Post reporter looking for confidential documents. And then during the We Got Milk bill signing yesterday with the president, he was asked about the leaker, which I had not heard about. And he says, yes, the leaker's been arrested and is in a jail cell.
I heard the reference to it.
And I was like, and when I heard him say the leaker's in jail, I was like, this is the first time I heard about a leaker, and I follow the news pretty closely. While we don't have all the information yet, this is what we know. A Pentagon contractor leaked to the Washington Post and was it the New York Times? It was definitely the Washington Post, maybe the New York Times, about the military operation to get Maduro in Venezuela before it happened. And the Washington Post and the New York Times sat on the story and reported that somebody leaked the information to them. They didn't run with the story, and told the government.
Well, they said they sat on it. Or
they sat on the story.
Confused.
They sat on the story and ratted out the leaker. And then there was an update on how they caught the leaker. Now, this part I have not heard confirmed by the mainstream media.
So that was a good guy, a pro-Trump guy.
No, these are liberal reporters from the Washington Post and New York Times. They hate Trump, but
well, why did they leak to Trump?
No, Steve. There was a person who worked at the Pentagon, an independent contractor who worked for the Pentagon, knew of the Venezuelan operation before it happened. Okay, they leaked to this Pentagon worker leaked to the Washington Post and the New York Times about the Venezuelan operation in advance. The Washington Post and the New York Times turned them in to they let the government know that a leaker from the Pentagon had given them information. And now this part I've not seen confirmed in the press yet or by the president. If any of you have seen this confirmed, let me know. But I read last night how they caught the guy, and this is the part that's not confirmed, that he made an online bet on whether, those bets that you see all the time about is Trump going to run in 2028, how you can bet on that? He made a sizable online bet that he won, it was a six-figure windfall on the U.S. going into Venezuela and arresting Maduro. And it was reported now this is the part that hasn't been confirmed, but that they're saying that bet is how they found him. They tracked down who it was. But they arrested him and he's in jail, the leaker. And I've never in my life heard of an incident where the Washington Post cooperated with the feds, because the Pentagon Papers story with Daniel Ellsberg, that was the Washington Post. And they love to get classified information and report it. I've never known of them not reporting.
That's a big story. That's a big story.
It's a big story that they sat on it and told the government that the leaker. To me, that's the story.
I mean, they went back in undercover afterwards because they haven't released the name of the leaker even now, a couple of days after the fact.
And the raid on the Washington Post reporter's house, I don't know if that was a real raid or to just try to keep the credibility of confidentiality with sources with the newspaper. I don't know. But if you're not familiar with the Pentagon Papers story and Daniel Ellsberg, we're not going to go through it now, but look it up online. The Washington Post was given all these classified Pentagon documents by Daniel Ellsberg, and they ran with the story. And the Supreme Court ruled that while it is illegal to be a leaker of classified information, as reporters, you're allowed to get classified information and publicize it. You're not breaking the law. So there's a long history of the Washington Post, New York Times, and other publications leaking classified information.
For those who were not around at the time, that's the Daniel Ellsberg tape.
Yes, the Daniel Ellsberg stuff.
It goes back to the Nixon Watergate tape.
Yeah, the Pentagon Papers is what you want to search if you look it up online. And I give for the Washington Post not to report a classified thing like that is unheard of. During the ground war in Afghanistan, when we first went in the December after 9/11, they reported on classified information that got a lot of Americans killed throughout the entire Iraq war. Remember the IEDs that they were using on the Humvees?
Yes.
And these wounded warriors, a lot of them, they're wounded because of that. It was they didn't have armor underneath, right? And
I remember that. I remember that well.
And it was one of the big newspapers got that classified information and ran with the story and told the enemy that the Humvees in Iraq and Afghanistan didn't have armor underneath, and then the IEDs started blowing up underneath them. So for the Washington Post to have a classified story about something involving the military, sit on the story, not report it, and let the MAGA government know is the bigger story of the whole thing. I'm very curious as to how that happened. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. We'll take our break and be back. Hold on, Steve. We'll be back shortly. Hold on. Okay. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes.
Okay, we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes, we'll be back. Oh my goodness. Okay, we have 1 minute. We'll be back in 1 minute. I'm going to take a call or two, and then I got another story that I want to share. Unless you have...
Do the good story. Do the story.
Okay.
That last one was great.
Oh. I've never known the Washington Post to sit on a story. Ever.
It's a puzzlement. It really is a puzzlement.
I think they're afraid of going to jail because Trump's arresting leakers. That's what I think. And I think the raid on her house was just a cover so they could seem like they were still with the leakers. I don't think it was a real raid. All right, 20 seconds. Yeah, these are big stories. I mean, they're...
I didn't see anything in the Post today, but I didn't.
Slow down. We're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane's here. I'm Brian. I got another big story I want to share with you before we go to the phones. But before that, I want to talk about this incredible offer from Sloman's Home Security. Listen to this, guys. Sloman's Home Security is offering a free home security system with free professional installation and 24/7 central station monitoring. You get all that for just $24.95 a month for 5 years. Wow. A free home security system and professional installation, absolutely free. Your Sloman's Home Security system includes a touchscreen keypad, 3-door or window sensors, a motion detector, notification, and remote keypad access, so you can check in no matter where you are, including on our cruise. I check in when we're in the islands and on the cruise ship, what's going on I get notifications every time there's movement at my house. Give them a call and take advantage of this right now, no matter where you're located. 833-283-5050. 833-283-5050. Okay, there's another big story out of Minneapolis. You may have seen this, Steve. This is scary. These what do they call them? Housewives, mothers, just regular people that are just fed up with ICE taken to the streets of Minneapolis. Minneapolis protesters successfully broke into and opened a weapons locker in a federal vehicle and stole a rifle and ammunition last night. So they broke into a federal vehicle's weapons locker, stole a rifle and ammo. These peaceful protesters of Minneapolis, Steve, they've taken it to a whole new level. What are these peaceful protesters going to do with a rifle and ammo?
I guess we'll find out.
I hope not. I hope they get arrested with the rifle and the ammo. My goodness. These are the gun control people, I thought.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's take some calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. Glenn from Mississippi.
All right, Glenn in Mississippi.
Good morning, Brian. Good morning, Steve. Just want to let you know we have a good friend that lives in Tennessee, right outside Fort Campbell, matter of fact. And they're telling us that there's a lot more training going on. You can actually, I've been up there, and I've actually heard, the training fire. I've heard the 50s going off. I've heard bombs being
well, I don't know about, that you're talking about a military installation. What we're talking about here in South Florida is civilian. We're not around military bases here. The president just comes home on the weekends. So we're not at a military base.
Yeah, I realize that, but they're just, you're talking about, these things are going on, flying over your house and stuff, and there's just more training going on this military base than normal.
Okay. All right. More than normal. Okay, I appreciate the call. I was saving this Washington Post story for you because I know you remember the Pentagon Papers.
Oh yes.
I don't think people understand the significance of it that aren't familiar with the Pentagon Papers, but for the Washington Post to have classified information about an administration they hate, the Trump administration, and sit on it and turn in the leaker is unheard of. If you would have told me that story before it was reported and happened, I would have told you that will never happen, that is impossible. The Washington Post would never do that. So the question is, why? Why do you think they sat on the story and turned in the leaker? And I was telling you during the break, Steve, I think this raid on the reporter's house was not a real raid. I think it was to try to preserve the integrity of the Washington Post reporting, that they don't turn in sources. And this story.
Well, there's a whole lot going on, but you can tell by the situation. I mean, it's very scary. Iran is hanging out there. I don't know how the hell that's going to resolve itself. I don't even have any theories.
With the Washington Post, the president. They have been talking, and Pete Hegseth, about arresting and prosecuting leakers. So I don't know, but that is, I bet you there's not another reason. Maybe with a Democrat president, but not with a Republican, especially this one. All right, let's take some more calls. The number is 888-465-2631. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Charles and Stewart. How's it going, Brian?
Hey, Charles and Stewart.
Hey,
Stuart. Well.
Hey, well, that one caller, he was talking about people being taken off the streets and stuff. And, I just noticed, I noticed this a long time. When all else fails, they always play the race card, okay?
Yes.
Now, it's just even stuff that isn't racist, they're saying it's racist. They're looking under, floorboards saying it's racist. I just want to drop this off real quick. Have you ever heard the saying, when the debate is lost, slander becomes a tool of the loser. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Oh, you have heard it.
Yeah. Variations of
okay.
it.
I'm not saying nothing new then.
Well, no, to a lot of people
Anyway.
you are. You know, Steve and I obsess over this stuff, so we've heard it all. But most people haven't.
Oh, okay.
You know, whenever you hear a liberal play the race card, mention Epstein, January 6th, that's a surrender. They got nothing to go.
One of the most that's one of the most interesting parts of this new revolution. For the first time, and that's what's got the liberals crazy. For the first time, the race card's not working.
No,
and it's always worked. They've always pulled it out.
You know why?
And they throw it out. Yeah, why?
The blacks are MAGA. The blacks are MAGA, and so are the Hispanics. All the black and brown people are with us, the ones that are here legally.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And that helicopter, I think, is that, do they call those gunships?
I can't. You know, it was a very cloudy, dark. You know, it was kind of dark. I couldn't tell if they were gunships or not. I didn't see the but they were low, and there were 2 squadrons in formation. And they flew down there, and they came back not long after. I mean, they came back quick. So they picked something up. I don't know if it was equipment or personnel.
I don't know. Well, I got one more thing real quick. Like you take Thomas Jefferson, who was a great man, right? So, okay, he owned slaves. Okay, so because he owned slaves, all the great things he did are erased. Is that it? You know what I mean?
That's what they want to say, yeah.
Yeah,
the liberals.
And you can't, right, well, you know what they do? You cannot compare today to the 18th century. That's what they keep doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought I'd got the
you know what you're talking about what you're talking about is relevant because of Tim Walz and his State of the State speech last night when he was inciting violence on the streets of Minnesota, was playing the race card and said that ICE agents are going door to door looking for black and brown people and just hauling them out of their house because they're black or brown, which is just total nonsense. Of course
it's nonsense.
He's so afraid of being arrested in the middle of the night. I'm telling you, he's sleeping.
He knows better than anybody what they got him for.
You know, he's sleeping fully clothed. I bet he sleeps fully clothed with socks and shoes on.
Thank you for taking my call.
It's not going to help.
All right. No, well, he doesn't want to get arrested in his underwear, Steve. He doesn't want to be pulled out in a T-shirt and underwear like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Okay, he wants to be dressed. All right. Oh my goodness, it's Gold Report time. I'm going to put you and everyone on hold. We'll be back. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, hold on. I got to call William. Hold on.
Good morning.
Hey there. We have just over a minute, so hold on. I'm going to get Steve here. All right, Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we have just over a minute. I got William here, then we'll be back. Just over a minute.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, 30 seconds. All right, it's time to check in with William Youngerman at the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how do the metals look today?
Metals are looking very interesting after yesterday's new record highs for gold and silver, trading gold in a range of $4,585 all the way up to $4,644 the ounce, and closing out the day at $4,626.20. That was up $40.90, although we were up over $60 at one point. The silver hitting a high of $93.64 an ounce and closing out the day up $6.29 at $93.10 an ounce. Platinum up $54 at $23.87, and palladium was down $10, closing out the day at $1,807. As might be suspected, some profit taking, as we've seen 100 times in this market. After it makes a new high, we see a little bit of a pullback, some profit taking, and then the rally continues on to set new highs. So we've been seeing this action. So we don't get these pullbacks very often, or very long at least. You get maybe a day or an intraday pullback, and then they just seem to turn the markets right around with buying. Gold rate overnight trading in a range of $4,580 up to $4,629, and right now we're down $37.20 at $4,589, $4,589 on gold. That's down $37.20. So a little bit of giving back some of its gains yesterday. Silver down $4.90 at $88.20 the ounce. That's a nice pullback. And platinum down $52 at $23.35, and palladium down $37 at $1,770 per ounce. And these are very typical actions that we have seen throughout this rally on the precious metals over the last year or two. And that means that any kind of a little pullback you get is just another buying opportunity.
Yeah, and with everything is doing so well and just amazingly, and silver being at over. Did you say over $88 right now? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, it's 88.20. Yesterday it was 93.10.
With silver staying so high, that's telling. I mean, I'm not the expert, you are, but that tells me that people are not selling their silver; they're holding on to it.
That's right. They're buying.
Yeah, and at William Youngerman's, all the metals are in stock for immediate delivery, but people are holding because I guess is $100 realistic for silver?
Oh, very easily. We could easily see $100 silver this week. So that's
my goodness.
It's very realistic.
Steve, we'll go to Wings Plus and celebrate.
Oh yeah.
Listen,
my two favorite things: Wings Plus and gold
and silver. Yeah. Okay. So
with a little call out for silver.
William Youngerman is located in Boca at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. You can give him a call toll free. He opens up at 10 a.m. And remember, you can do your transactions over the phone and through the mail if you can't make it into a shop in Boca. 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. And online, WilliamYoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman will finish out the week tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day. Thanks.
All right, take care. All right, you want to take some calls, Steve?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on
Jupiter.
Hey, Jupiter.
Yeah, I get a kick out of all these guys about targeting individuals. When you're in, especially a place like Minnesota, and you're looking for illegals, are you going to look for the blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy in a Beamer, or are you going to go look at Home Depot when they're all huddled over and brown people? I'm sorry, but that's what they are. It's very easy to find them. I'm supposed to be checking out guys and arresting guys in Beamers and looking for illegal aliens?
Well, of course. There? Yes. Of course, you don't want to be, yeah.
You gotta go where the money is.
Yeah, I know.
It's just what it is. It's what it is. It's not being racist. It's what it is.
Remember the old joke that they used to say with Willie Sutton when they asked him why he chose to rob banks?
Yes.
And he said, "Because that's where the money is."
That's correct. All right, caller. Appreciate the call. Hold on, Steve. Our phones are ringing off the hook. All right, you with me, Steve? No, okay, hold on. All right, Steve, you with me?
I am.
Okay, let's go. Take some more calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Oh, hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Hi,
Brian,
Steve.
how are you?
I'm great, Steve. How are you
Good.
today? You know, two fascinating stories, because what we can read into them. The thing about the newspaper, it wasn't just one newspaper sitting on this story, but to have two of them sitting on it, somebody must have really laid a law down to these guys. They would never sit on this, even in the competition with another newspaper.
And to undermine the president. They hate Trump.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that'd be to take Trump down on something with a leaked story. I mean,
as crazy as it sounds, they're burying the lead, so to speak. The lead is the Washington Post had classified information about a major military operation ordered by President Trump, and they sat on it and turned the leaker in. That's the story.
That's if you weren't saying it this way, I would say, "Oh, no way that'll happen."
No way.
They leak it in a second.
No way.
Yeah, no way. And to have two of them, two separate newspapers having that information to take Trump down.
Now, I can't remember if the other one was the New York Times. I think it was, but I may be wrong. But definitely the Post.
Okay, that's amazing. That's something going on there. For them to back away from that story, something going on.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you some thoughts on it. Okay, and the Washington Post is the CIA. Woodward and Bernstein were not investigative reporters. Bob Woodward is CIA. Right. He was with Naval Intelligence. Deep Throat was felt at the FBI, who just gave him everything. All that stuff you saw in All the President's Men is pure fiction. So,
and they took credit for investigative reporting.
So yes, exactly. And they but that's a very true story. Get Bob Woodward and Bob Woodward, when Deep Throat died, he released a book, told the whole story.
Right.
Get the book, you'll see all that stuff with Hal Holbrook in the garage. That's all BS. None of that ever happened.
Right.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
I'm talking about the movie there, not the. But here's the thing. The Washington Post is the CIA.
Right.
Maybe Trump has drained the swamp a lot more than we think.
Well, that's wonderful.
You know what I mean?
From the inside.
Maybe the deep state is now on our side. Yes, at least to a certain extent. This
wouldn't have happened in a million years, Brian. A story like that. There's no way it wouldn't have been out in the press the very next minute they had that. So something going on. A quick question on the helicopters. Were they the big helicopters like with twin rotors?
It was hard to tell because last night was heavy clouds and it was kind of hazy. They were low and vibrating the house, and I could see them, but because of the weather conditions, I couldn't tell if they were twin rotors. But I know my whole house was vibrating.
Yeah, because I'm on Deerfield on military on 10th there. Didn't hear anything because I'm a bit further away from that. I don't think it's a troop carrier. Because usually the big Chinook helicopters with the twin rotors up above are carrying,
I couldn't tell if they, I do have video of it, which I'll look at and I'll see. Okay, I took, of course, something like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was, all right, no, that's the cue, but that's the cue. But I see all kinds of stuff, Steve. Like a few months ago, there were fighter jets flying low over my house, and I knew something was up. And then I looked, a plane flew in restricted airspace at Mar-a-Lago. You see all this stuff all the time, and it happens. I want to talk about life imaging FLA with the heart scan and the cancer screening. And, you hear me talk about stories of people that have gone to life imaging FLA and found out that they had plaque buildup, they had over 80% blockage, and they had no symptoms. Same goes with the cancer screening. They find things. One thing you got to understand, the number one sign of a heart attack, the first sign of a heart attack is instant death. And when people go to life imaging FLA and find out they have blockage or plaque or a growth that's cancer that they didn't know about and they didn't have any symptoms, their life very well may have been saved just by that scan at life imaging FLA. And this happens every day over there. Life Imaging FLA have locations in Broward, Palm Beach, and Dade County. Call Life Imaging FLA for your free heart scan now with a few minimum requirements valued at $699. From your cell phone, call pound 250 and say free heart scan. You'll be connected in seconds. That's pound 250. Just say free heart scan and you'll be connected in seconds. When you're over there, make sure you ask about the cancer screening too. All right. We're tomorrow is. Can you believe it's Friday already? That means open phones on Friday's show. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. So tomorrow the show preps up to you guys. It's open phones. You can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. You don't even have to comment on the things Steve and I bring up. Although, you know, I hope whatever we bring up tomorrow in the news you find interesting enough to comment on. But show preps up to you guys on Friday's show. We do that every Friday. Open MAGA Mike Friday here on the program. And sometimes it's the best show of the week, and then other times, you know, some of the calls today and yesterday were, a little questionable so far as the quality. But I enjoy the open phones because you guys, sometimes what happens is you see things in the news that maybe I didn't think too much about or may have even missed, and then you bring a perspective. So that's tomorrow. Open phones, Open MAGA Mike Friday. All right, we are almost out of time, but we have time for one or two more calls. You want to try, Steve?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Trisha from Minneapolis. Bus driver.
Trisha, the bus driver from Minneapolis. What say you?
My cousin Steve works for a company that puts up barriers and paints, the road to kind of when they do construction and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him last night, and he was telling me that they went down to the Whipple building down by Fort Snelling there and were putting up the barriers, and those people were attacking them, their company. They're down there just trying to put barriers up to protect them.
Oh, you're talking about road crews putting up barriers were being attacked by these anti-ICE protesters in Minneapolis?
Yep. And then another person was down there, a MAGA dude down there, and he had an American flag, and he was all of a sudden got totally surrounded and was being actually attacked.
Well, don't do that. MAGA people stay. Now, let me ask you. We're almost out of time, so let me ask you. You're a bus driver in Minneapolis. When you see these ICE people around, are they local people from Minneapolis, or do they look like out-of-towners to you?
They're out of town.
Yeah.
But, what I was going to tell you was so pivotal is that they called 911 to get, for the Minneapolis police to come in or somebody, and they didn't come. They did not come.
Oh, my goodness.
They did not. They said they're not coming down there. So they said, we're totally being attacked and we're not protected.
It's like, what's that movie where you can kill people for 24 hours? You know, that movie series?
Oh. I know exactly what The Purge.
The Purge. It's like The Purge going on in Minneapolis. 911 doesn't respond.
One and two.
The Purge, but in real life in Minneapolis. Oh, my goodness.
That's right. And these people aren't from here, too, because you hear them, what they're saying or how they're talking. Minnesota people do not attack somebody putting up those cement barriers and stuff. They usually don't do that.
No.
These are a lot of these people.
All right, listen, we're out of time. We're out of time.
Network.
We're out of time for the day, but appreciate the call.
All right.
Trisha, she's a bus driver like Richie the bus driver, but in the streets of Minneapolis, Steve. She's new to the show, and she's given us all kinds of good insight. All right, that's it. We are out of time for today. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. Steve Kane has been here. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. God bless Donald Trump. See you then. Take care.
Yeah.
All right, Steve. I'll talk to you later. All right. Take care. All right. Hey, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new. And if you could take the link to the program and share on all your social media, I'd greatly appreciate it. Those of you that have been doing that, thank you so much. I did make a video before the show. I did a short live stream just for members. So if you're a member to the channel, you can go and it cuts off at the end because Steve called me during the live stream and it cut off the end. But I talked about some things that I'm not going to talk about here that only members can see. So if you're a member, check out that video I did this morning right before I went on the air. All right, guys, take care. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.